Hello, hello. It's race day. How's it going, everyone? Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome, Andrew. Welcome, Marianne. Taco. I wasn't 1 minute late. I did click live. It's just your internet. Hope you're good, though, guys. Hope you're good, though. Wow, lots of you already in here. You are raring to go, aren't you, for the Bahrain Grand Prix? Lots to discuss before the race begins. So we will wait for everyone to filter in before we, as normally, look at the strategy options for today. Please, fingers crossed, we actually get some form of strategy. We are at a circuit where, yes, tyres do actually degrade, unlike they did in China and at Suzuka last week. So potentially 2 stoppers on the card, but we'll have a look at those strategies and what tyre options the drivers have available to them. And, of course, all the other general information as well that we look at before the race begins. But yes, if you're just tuning in, guys, welcome for everyone tuning in right now. If you are just tuning in, there is news overnight, if you're not aware of, that Antonelli and George Russell did indeed receive a 1-place grid penalty for that pit lane infringement for going out too early after the red flag was thrown. So they went out, the team released them when there was an estimated time of... when the estimated session will resume, not the actual confirmation. So they got that mixed up. It is a little harsh. I get it. I guess because it's never had it's the first time it's happened. I said yesterday, I've never seen this happen. Toto Wolff actually said there's no precedent for it either. No one has ever done this before. And I guess the thing is that they went out. They could be seen to be gaining an advantage by getting out there on track first. So, on one hand, I see it. On the other hand, I do think it's a tad harsh on the drivers. Normally, stuff like that, pit lane infringements, with being released, like unsafe releases and so forth, that is normally chucked into the fines. You get heavy fines, so. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in as always. We do. Oh, hang on a second. I completely forgot about drivers making their way round to the grid. So we will have a look at that. Should we change scene and just see if anything happens as always, and then we'll have a look at the start. So the race is not about to begin, guys. This is just drivers doing their kind of formation laps, their sighting laps to make their way round to the grid. So let's have a look at that. Did I see Lewis on the truck? No, I didn't actually. He couldn't have looked any more less interested. Yeah, I mean, he's beating himself up. I get it. He's starting down in 9th position. He's not happy, is he? At all. Not happy. There we go. So drivers are just about to make their way round to their grid spots. They do a couple of sighting laps. So we'll keep an eye out on this and see if anything happens. Shouldn't be anything too untoward. And yeah, then we'll have a look at the strategy options and have a look at the other information that's relevant to today. You forgot you'd already subscribed, Mike. No, thank you guys. Yeah, trying to achieve 40,000 subs today. That'd be absolutely amazing and round off what has been a brilliant start to this season for me personally and this channel. So I hope you've been enjoying the content. If you have and you're still yet to subscribe, what's holding you back? Hit that subscribe button. Any idea what the Ferraris look like on long runs? They looked okay from the limited information we had from FP2, but we don't know. Generally, it's a bit of an unknown. Now, what's intriguing is that the McLarens are most definitely running a higher downforce package than everyone else. Now, for Piastri, it's essential for him to get into clean air because then he can manage the race from there. If he loses position in the first corner, it could be a tricky race for the McLaren. It genuinely could, because while it is the quickest car, we have seen it become a bit unstuck in dirty air, which Lando Norris is going to have to contend with today, starting down in 6th place. But what is interesting with Piastri is that he was towards the bottom of the speed traps for that pole position lap yesterday. So, yeah, we'll see if he, with that extra downforce, I mean, if he loses first place from after the first lap, I mean, I'm intrigued to see how he handles that with dirty air. So, yeah. How does the upgrades look on the Ferraris? They seem to be working. That gap has closed at the front. We'll see truly how they're working today in race trim. That's really where it matters. Of course, we know qualifying is super important now with how close it is. But yeah, Charles Leclerc has stated he's gone very aggressive on his setup. So he has gone one way. Lewis Hamilton, I think, has gone more of a more trying to get in a more balanced setup. Lewis clearly struggled, had no excuses for yesterday's performance. I think, like Lando, if he had that step out of the rear through turn one, we saw a few drivers struggle yesterday with the tyre prep. Now, this is something Lewis has struggled pretty much, hence the conspiracy theories of him being hampered with tyre blankets and so forth throughout his time in this regulation set when he was back at Mercedes, of not having the tyres up to temperature. And I think Lewis has just struggled with getting these tyres in qualifying into the right window. So he ends up with a lack of grip for his Q3 laps. And yeah, it's reared its ugly head again here in Bahrain. So you saw the F2 sprint; it was absolute cinema. Yeah, I did catch up with that. That was crazy, that F2 sprint. So you're watching from Nairobi. Thank you. We truly are global. We truly are global. You're confused. You're never this early. What are they doing? So they're just doing their sighting laps. There's nothing that is really happening right now in relation to. Sometimes there's some sneaky little things that happen, so we're just keeping an eye out on the teams as it currently stands as they make their way round to their grid spots. That's why they're heading back through the pit lane. Once they've kind of completed this, we will have a look at the strategy options for today, as we always do. Will Oscar take the lead in the World Drivers' Championship if he wins? That is a fair question. And, well, do we have the championship predictions? We do indeed. So let's have a look at these as I just drag that across so we can have a look at the permutations. Well, I say what could happen today. It doesn't update them as it currently stands, but you can see there Oscar Piastri is currently 12 points behind Norris. So Norris for finishing in P6 if he stays where he is. I mean, it depends where Norris finishes. I think, what do you get for P6? I don't know. There is a possibility, yes, depending on where Piastri finishes and where Verstappen finishes ultimately. So, yeah, if Norris just recovers to a podium, he won't take the lead. So, yeah. Race hasn't started. No, this is just them doing their sighting laps round to their grid boxes. Not going to lie, I certainly feel Antonelli is someone to look on. Yeah, keep an eye on the Mercedes today. They're going to be interesting. Should we have a quick look at... Actually, I say a quick look. I actually haven't seen... So Esteban Ocon has taken a number of brand new parts, by the way. He is starting on the grid. So, yes, you don't get penalties for changing the gearbox and so forth as long as it is within your allocation, which he has taken. So he'll lose that gearbox for the remainder of the season. So Ocon is starting in 14th. I would like to correct myself, for Ollie Behrman did not have an engine issue yesterday, guys. Ollie Behrman just didn't get the tyres fired up. It was a poor lap from the Haas driver. So yeah, not really good from Haas here this weekend, looking to be a bit slow. We don't really know what Haas is going to turn up at each weekend at the moment, do we? But yes, the big news is that George Russell has been demoted down a position to P3, so Charles Leclerc is up into P2, and Pierre Gasly, who had a brilliant qualifying yesterday with Alpine, is up into P4, and Antonelli in P5. So yeah, going to be really interesting. Let me just... What? Spell check. Bloody spell check. Why is it... Oh, let's hope it's a good race. Yeah, we're all hoping for it being a good race. So we've seen plenty of overtakes and plenty of action in the junior formulas. I know that doesn't always necessarily translate to what we see in the F1, because the junior formulas are like watching an iRacing race sometimes. But yeah, thank you. What's that? I know, I should have done. I didn't know if he was watching. Missus giving me a little gift there. Thank you. Right, so... Does Ocon start from the pit lane? No, he doesn't. But yes, sorry, going back to the junior formulas, yeah, it's crazy how kind of just carnage based those races are at the moment in the junior formulas. But yeah, we should hopefully see some overtaking here. Strategy, I think, will be an option. The undercut is big here. We'll have a look at the strategy options in just a moment once the drivers have made their way round to their pit box, which I think some of them have done. Unless Oscar Piastri, I think, might be doing a... is Oscar Piastri doing a start procedure? Yes, he is. So, yeah, nothing to note at the moment with anyone doing anything untoward with their start lane procedures and so forth. They'll be lining up very shortly. 3 wide through turn 12, absolutely brilliant. I know some of the dives I saw as well from the juniors into turn 1 were ridiculous, making it 4 wide, things like that. Is Mini Abby Pullin doing good? My daughter, she's doing very well, thank you, Jacob. Yes, yeah, I had F2 and F3 on earlier, and she was she was interested in what was occurring on TV. But yeah, now she's doing very well, getting plenty of sleep and growing quick. Over 6 months now, crazy. Watching from Botswana. Welcome, Chester. Welcome. Yeah, no, thank you, everyone. Over 1,000 of you in here already. So just in case you're wondering, the race has not started. As you can see at the top right-hand corner of your screen there, the race start is still half an hour away. This is just the sighting laps where the drivers are leaving their garages and they're going round, just getting into the groove of things, making sure there's no mechanical issues, and then they make their way round to their pit box, which we can start to see drivers doing on the start-finish straight down. The hards will last all 24 races. You're convinced, Tyler? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I mean, we'll have a look at the strategy options. And, well, yes, there is a one-stop strategy that has been proposed by Pirelli. And I'll be very disappointed if it is. Safety cars, we have seen safety cars here in the past. And I think that could throw a spanner in the works for a number of teams. We don't want a safety car potentially... we kind of don't want a safety car in the middle of the race, to be honest with you, I think, which we'll discuss shortly with the strategy options that are on offer. Watching from Zambia, lovely. Antonelli is also going to be a champion one day. Well, I'll tell you what, the Mercedes does look good. However, there is something that I heard George Russell state earlier in a TV interview that could impact his race and Antonelli's race today with the tyres that they have available compared to their competitors. But yes, definitely with the pace that Antonelli has shown, he has shown improvement race on race thus far, hasn't he? He's got closer and closer to George, and yesterday was the closest he has been over a single lap for George, who is arguably... well, he's Mr. Saturday, isn't he? One of the best qualifiers on the grid. So, what's the weather at Bahrain? What do you think? I know we saw rain in Bahrain when it came to testing, but no, it's a very different time of the year right now, and we won't see any rain. So, yes, spoiler alert, the weather is not something that we really need to pay attention to today. The track temperatures, though, I mean, the only thing we really kind of need to pay attention to potentially is the wind conditions. The wind can spike here at the moment, 5.8 kilometers an hour. Where the wind normally plays a bit of havoc is down into turn 4 and down into turn 13. But other than that, we don't really need to pay attention to anything in relation to the weather conditions. The track temperature will most likely decrease as the race progresses, which could affect maybe tyre warm-up as the race goes on and we see the pit stops occur. But other than that, no, it's a bone-dry race. Bone-dry in Bahrain. Right, well, that's it. Drivers making their way around to their pit boxes. Nothing to really make note of there. Thankfully, everyone's made it round to their grid slots safely. I assume Russell and Antonelli will be able to do so as well. So just bear with me, and I will get these strategy options up today for you. Right. Who will cook the strategy in the race today? We will see. We'll have a look in just 2 seconds. Lando, big lunge down, first corner, late braking and straight into second. No, I'm just going to say no chance. Watch it be a one-stop. Well. Let's have a look at the strategy options for today, guys. Let's hope it isn't a one-stop. So, yes. Let's go to Strategy Corner and see what potentially is in store for us for the race today at Bahrain. Hey, greatest! Thank you for another amazing stream. My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. the data says it's pressure. I don't know in relation to the pressure. I assume it's the air pressure that they're making mention of. So yeah, don't read too much into that. Doesn't play too much of a factor. But here we go. Look at this. Pirelli are suggesting 4 two-stop strategies, and just watch this race become the single one-stop strategy for today. Just watch it become a standard medium to hard. Unbelievable. But I don't know. We will see. We will see. But yes, we have potentially at the most abrasive circuit on the calendar, Bahrain. So that means that it's the roughest circuit on the calendar. No resurfacing here at Bahrain to contend with like we did at China and Suzuka, which is why the tyres lasted for as long as they did. This time around, tyre degradation should play a key factor, and as should tyre warm-up as well. Now, Pirelli are interestingly suggesting the start on the soft compound tyre. I've said this many a time before, we don't see the soft compound tyre really be a viable option at the start of a race anymore. We did see a couple of drivers do it, Stroll and Doohan back in Suzuka. And Doohan was able to make up a good few positions, but even there, the soft compound tyre didn't last too long. So I don't think the soft compound tyre on 100 kilograms of fuel, cold brakes, like that's just not the tyre of choice. So the medium is most definitely what I expect to see the majority of tyres be starting when their tyre blankets are taken off, when at the start of the race. Maybe a few on the hard compound tyre, but unless maybe your name's Ollie Bearman and you're trying to goal hang for a safety car, the tyre warm-up is going to be a big issue on the hard compound tyres here, which once they get up to temperature is a good thing, but who can heat up those tyres quickest will massively benefit. Now, the undercut is powerful here because of degradation, and I do think we'll see 2 stoppers, barring safety car. But the hard compound tyre, we saw drivers struggle with it in hot conditions as well, in FP1 and in FP3. And we've seen it here before in Bahrain as well, where the hard compound tyre takes a long time to switch on. So yeah, we're hoping for a 2-stop. At least makes things more interesting for us, and more things, I guess, to kind of go wrong and so forth in the pit lane. But even so, I do think we'll see a couple of drivers try the 1-stop, but hopefully it's not an easy 1-stop. And at a track where overtaking is possible, the 1-stop could be very risky. But we'll see. We will see. And we'll have a look at tyre options in just a second, and in relation to who can do what strategy. Change the regs, compulsory 2-stops. I disagree with compulsory 2-stops. I do think some tracks where we don't see overtakes, I think should maybe be mandated as 2-stops. But I think ultimately the best races we have are when someone tries to do a 1-stop and someone does a more aggressive 2-stop, and there's that then eventual convergence on track, and we see some great battles like that. That's where we have brilliant races. So removing the 1-stop in general is not the best idea in my opinion, but yeah, it's when we get that fine line of both being a viable strategy, which is when races are most interesting in my personal opinion. So the 1-stop should be possible here. It is possible, but is it the quickest? Maybe not. Maybe not. And we'll have a look at the pit lane lost time in just a second to see how much time the teams need to make up, and the tyre deg as well. So 1-stop strat isn't going to work here for sure. Well, we'll see. No doubt we're going to see drivers try and attempt it, especially those who are out of position as well. But let's have a look at the tyre allocations for today. And, well, I did mention George Russell in particular. He said they will have to use at least a soft compound tyre today at some point. So he is indicating that definitely Mercedes think it's going to be a 2-stop strategy. Of course, they may change their mind on the fly, depending on how the race pans out for them. But he is going to have to use a set of softs at some point, because he only has 1 set of hards and 1 set of mediums available. Whereas you look at Verstappen, he has 2 sets of hards available, and Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris and Piastri have 2 brand new sets of mediums available to them. So could that potentially put a spanner in the works for the chances of a decent result here today for Mercedes by them having to use that soft compound tyre if they do go down the 2-stop route? Potentially. It's interesting that Max is on the hard. Is the only driver on the grid who has 2 brand new hard compounds available to him. Could that work for him in a very tricky Red Bull car? Now, there was discussions that Red Bull were going to be asking the FIA to potentially change the brake pads and the brakes on the car. I'm not sure if that was confirmed or not, but that's one of the reasons why Max struggled yesterday, was that the brakes just would not playing ball with him. Maybe also some other issues as well with that car. It looked very understeery. We'll see what Max can do today in today's race. Members meeting at Goodwood Live today. Oh, lovely. Awesome weekend for racing this weekend. F1 at Bahrain and IndyCar IMSA at Long Beach. Is it IndyCar at Long Beach, is it? Or is it just IndyCar and IMSA at Long Beach? I saw IMSA was at Long Beach. You've got a question. Would you rather go for a one-stop or a two-stop? I think here at Bahrain, the two-stop. I think because it is more aggressive. You can drive quicker, ultimately. You don't have to worry about coasting into corners and being easy on the throttle out of the corners here. You could be more aggressive. And at a circuit at Bahrain, you don't... It's a tricky track to defend on, really, at Bahrain, especially if you've got tyres that are falling off a cliff. If you've got tyres that are falling off a cliff and you've got someone with much fresher tyres chasing you down, even with that double DRS down into turn 4, it's going to be tricky to get that grip out of the exit of turn 1 and retake that lead. So we'll see. But yes, how do you vote Lando second? Oh yeah, I meant top 3, to be honest with you. Whoopsie. Most of you think 3rd to 5th, though. How did I get that so wrong? Interestingly, 17% of you think he may win this race. I do think some shenanigans need to occur for him to win this race. So yes, that's the strategy for today, guys. Hopefully we do see a two-stop. I'm sure we'll see some guys try the one-stop. Safety cars could throw a spanner in the works here. This is the tyre deg as well of each tyre. So per lap, that's why the soft compound tyre isn't really that good of a tyre, especially starting on high fuel. You're losing over 1/10 and a half per lap on the softs. Yeesh. The mediums is 1/10, and the hards are less than 1/10. So, but the hards do take a bit longer to come up to temperature. So yeah, the soft compound tyre, that deg is massive, it seems. And then, well, let's have a look at the pit lane lost time. 23 seconds is the gap we're looking for today, guys, and that is the gap that drivers will have to make up on those who maybe try a one-stop compared to those on the two-stop. But with that tyre deg, well, we've seen that these tyres could definitely fall off a cliff. The safety car and VSC, you gain, what is that, my maths, for 8 seconds you gain under a safety car and VSC. And we have quite a high percentage of a safety car here in the past. You can see the VSC, 50% of the last 7 years here, we have seen a VSC. And the safety car has been deployed 63% of the time. That is a high percentage. And the red flag has been thrown 13% of the time, which I think may be... The only time we've seen a red flag here was for Romain Grosjean's crash, I think. And that's the last time we saw a red flag here at Bahrain. So... but you can see there, no rain forecast for today in Bahrain. Woohoo! It's so sad to see Lewis. Have you heard what he said in his recent interviews? Yeah, I've seen it, Hassan. Yeah, I think, look, he's being very harsh on himself. He isn't slow. I don't think so. This is where I think Lewis is going wrong. Same as Lando as well. They're not getting these tyres into the correct window for their prep lap. Lewis has struggled with this, hence the conspiracy of tyre blankets and so forth. He hasn't got the tyres in the correct window for a number of qualifying sessions in this current set of regulations. And I think Oscar is, likewise to comparison to Lando, Oscar is doing better than Lando in that regard recently as well. And Lando is very harsh on himself when it comes to whenever Oscar beats him, he kind of beats himself up, whereas he needs to just kind of just shrug it off and just get on with it. But we'll see how he gets on today. But yeah, I don't think Lewis is slow. I think it's a lot to do with these tyres. But if you don't get them in the right window, you've got no hope of setting a decent lap. So, yeah. My pleasure, Roo. That was a scary crash, Romain Grosjean. I know, I remember that. I remember watching that live. I was on my way out, and I went, oh! And the missus went, what's going on? And, of course, he just saw an explosion, pretty much, didn't we? Expecting a lot of racing in the lower order today. Here's hoping, Vinay. I mean, this is the thing, is that we should... hopefully see the dirty air not be as prevalent here at Bahrain. The middle sector we never really see overtakes anyway, but we should hopefully see here overtakes being possible on the same set of tyres because of the double DRS that we have here. Well, we have triple DRS, but particularly the first sector in particular, down the start, finish straight, and then into turn 4. And then we have also the fact that tyres here today, with the tyre degradation actually being a thing, that will come into play. Some teams are going to be better on their tyres than others, and that provides overtakes. We need tyre offset to provide overtaking in motorsports. If you don't have that, you end up having quite generally boring races, as we saw in Suzuka and China. So yeah, FIA stated that Max's brake is allowed to be replaced. Fair enough, Jacob. I assumed it would be, because it's a safety concern, isn't it? It is a safety concern. So, yeah, we'll see if that improves Max. Max's race today, but he's obviously got a lot to contend with. But, yes, if you're just tuning in, guys, it is indeed looking like that we are going to have a 2-stop today. Woo! Hit the like button for that 2-stop, guys. Hit that like button for that 2-stop. And subscribe as well. So, yeah, trying to hit 40k today. Oh, already at over 39,100. So, thank you, guys. Thank you. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the pre-show here. Not really too much else to discuss. Your predictions for where will Lando Norris finish? You think he's basically going to finish in the top 5. Apologies, I should have put podium there. I should have put podium. But... yes, he has a lot of work to do. How will that McLaren be in dirty air? We saw it come a bit unstuck in the sprint race. He did make up a couple of positions, but it wasn't as much of... and we didn't see him make up as much ground as we thought he would in China. And, well, he has a bit of a tall order here today as well. What are the most teams using as a starting compound? We're yet to find out, Sean. We will find out when the tyre blankets are removed a couple of minutes before they go on their formation lap. Normally... I do suspect the medium compound tyre will be used. Maybe a couple of those out of position further down the track or down the grid will be using the hard compound to go long, maybe bank on a safety car, get a free pit stop. But yeah, primarily the medium compound leaves you open to a number of different strategy options today. It's the sensible decision, and you're going to have more grip than you would on the hard compound tyre as well. Red Bull was still dominant at this point last season, so you can't expect this to be a McLaren season. No, and the interesting thing today is, in particular, Oscar Piastri. Now, if he gets into clean air, he should drive away into the distance. However, he's running a more loaded setup package here, so he's got more downforce. He was slowest in the speed traps yesterday in qualifying. Could that hamper him in the race today? As I mentioned, dirty air, that dirty word, dirty air, you'll hear that all the time. If he loses P1, he could potentially come a bit unstuck. And could he be overtaken by those who are running more top speed because he gets stuck in that middle sector where he's not able to utilise that additional downforce, that grip, which is where the McLaren will be strong? Could he become a bit of a victim to those behind? Charles Leclerc, Kimi Antonelli, etc. Maybe even Pierre Gasly. Who knows how that Alpine does, looking strong in his hands. So... hey, so yeah, welcome everyone. Hope you're doing good. What do I think about Antonelli? He's made a good start to this season, nearly up to George Russell this week. Yes, he's progressed each race, hasn't he? So very close. Really harsh with that one-place grid penalty today. I think a podium's on the card for Mercedes today. We mentioned the tyre strategy options for them. If it is a 2-stop strategy here today and there's no safety cars, the fact that they have to switch to the hot soft compound tyre at least one time today, if it is a 2-stopper, could put a spanner in the works for Mercedes' hopes of securing a podium here today. Unlike Hamilton and the rest of the field, who have brand new a couple of brand new mediums available to them, the McLarens and the Ferraris, and Max with 2 brand new hards. The fact of it, they have to use the softs could be a detriment to them. So we'll see how that plays out for them. You think Lando will manage a podium? Well, many of you do. And, well, let's see who you think will win the race today, shall we? Shall we run another poll and see who you think will win the race? Who will win? I can only imagine who you think will win, no doubt. I think most of you are going to go for Oscar. But we'll do it nonetheless. Let's have a look. Could there be a surprise win for Charles Leclerc or George Russell? And who else should I put? No disrespect to Kimi. Should we go Antonelli? We'll go Antonelli. I do think it's out of those 4, unless something crazy happens. I don't think Lando, unless Lando is getting the benefit of a decent I mean, what has Lando got today? Yeah, he's got the same strategy option as his teammate. I think Lando could get P2 today. He'll be aiming for a podium to minimise the damage to his teammate and finish ahead of Max Verstappen, of course, and still lead this championship after this weekend after a poor qualifying. So, right, let's. That's it with the strategy, guys. Let's just set up the live data, shall we? And I did see some of you guys say the transition. You like the little transition. Yeah, we have one for each race. So hopefully you enjoy the little touches. It's the little touches, you know. Right, live timing. Let's bring that back down here. Where is my race control messages? That's what I wanted. What are my race control messages? 0% chance of rain today. Way off there with the setup, wasn't I? There we go. There we go. Ready to rock and roll, guys. Ready to rock and roll. 13 minutes until the race gets underway. So yes, the grid today. If you're just joining us, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli received a one-place grid penalty for the pit lane infringement being released too early yesterday in Q2. So unfortunate for them that they've been given an unprecedented one-place grid penalty. We've never seen that before. Toto Wolff even said it's unprecedented. So they were hoping they'd only get a fine, which is normally the case for a pit lane infringement, an unsafe release, etc. When they are in qualifying, but that wasn't the case. So the steward's taken a hard approach there because it's the first time ever. Norris, of course, we know is in P6, Verstappen P7, Carlos Sainz hopefully looking for a decent haul of points here today. Yuki Tsunoda in P10. Hamilton, of course, needs to improve. Will those Ferrari upgrades work when it comes to the race? Interesting to see whether Lewis starts on the hard compound or whether he starts on the medium. We saw him try the alternate strategy in Suzuka. Didn't work out for him. I hope he doesn't start on the alternate strategy, and I hope he starts on the medium. But we will see. Doohan looking for his first points of his F1 career. Needs a good performance to at least try and showcase he deserves to stay in Alpine. With Colapinto doing some test laps in that Alpine at Monza last week around. Isaac Hadjar, come on Hadjar, you can score points today for my fantasy team. We see Lawson down there. He needs a good result today, of course, down in 17th. Unfortunately for him yesterday, his DRS didn't open. He had a DRS failure, so he ran his whole quali session without DRS, which is essential here. I know people will jump on him because he went out in Q1, but ultimately he needs to. He can't do much else without his DRS at a track where there's 3 DRS zones. It would hamper you. And then, well, what can Lance Stroll do today? What can Lance Stroll do today, eh? Let's see if you can get some more points today. Yeah, we'll see if he can. We'll see if he can. I'm intrigued to see how the Red Bullers get on. Are they better on full fuel or are they worse? Because that Red Bull has not looked very good, has it? So Nightbot is in everyone's case. So Nightbot will only intervene, guys, and time you out or remove messages if you are basically using excessive caps or if you're using excessive emojis or like words and stuff that I don't want in the chat, basically. So that's the only reason why. So just keep it to a minimum. There is an allowance of caps and spam and like, if you use repeat sentences and so forth, you will end up getting timed out. So just try, and we've got the mods here as well to keep an eye out on chat and just to keep it a nice, healthy place for you all. That's what we want. We don't want this. We don't want the chat getting clogged up with unnecessary stuff, do we? So, what are my thoughts on Pierre Gasly? I really rate Pierre Gasly. I really do, and I think will Alpine in the future become a top team? Who knows? Who knows with 2026? But I think he is a very good driver. I really do. And we've seen when he's had a car underneath him that he's been able to put in some very impressive results. And I think he deserves an opportunity in a top team again. I really do. But it's like, where do you go? Alpine is kind of his best opportunity, or whatever Alpine becomes. Supposedly, they are currently in the process of being sold. maybe becoming high-tech. The team will be renamed. Of course, they're going to Mercedes gearboxes and engines next year. So, yes, Alpine will no longer be Alpine, I believe, heading into next season. You're not late. No, the race begins in 9 minutes, guys. 9 minutes. FIA rare statement saying we were wrong, RE, Nico and Alex situation. Guess consequences have to be grave in order to have accountability. What do you mean they were wrong? Crilido? What did they do? What, as in they should have got removed they should have removed Hulkenberg sooner and discovered that. How did McLaren go up in 1 year so quickly is the better question. Ooh. They have hired some very talented individuals, McLaren. A couple of years ago, you would have noticed that they were recruiting some very high-profile engineers and design personnel. And what happens is that there's always a lag. They have 6 months gardening leave, and then there's always a lag in their involvement in the team coming to fruition. Same as like what will happen with Nui. Like, he's not going to have an effect on this year's car. It will be next year's car. And what has happened is that those individuals have massively helped with the development of the car. And I do still think Red Bull were hampered, and they had to remove a certain device, an alleged device, from their car. And yeah, I think I'm not complaining because it helped them come back towards the pack. And with McLaren making that step in development as well, we saw McLaren become the fastest team. So, and I think as well, Red Bull, the reason why they've fallen off so badly is because I just don't think their development team or the design team is as good as Adrian Newey. Simple as. The people they've lost some some influential personnel in the team. As always, as a team that dominates for so long always does, they move on elsewhere because they get paid more money elsewhere. And yeah, there's always eventually going to be an eventual drop-off to an extent. Teams can't dominate forever. Do I think Doohan will finish in the points? He should. Whether he does or not, whether I think he will, I'm kind of copping out there with my assessment, with my prediction. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to think you know what? I'm going to stand. I think Doohan will finish P10. He should do in that Alpine. It seems to have pace here this weekend. So yeah. Saw a clip on YouTube earlier that Ricciardo is top of Cadillac's list sought after drivers. Take it with a pinch of salt, Lee. Take it with a pinch of salt. Which video? I mean, I don't trust any of those sources in relation to Cadillac's movements. There's the usual suspects that have been branded around. But yeah, I don't take that sort of stuff with a pinch of salt. Is it going to be cool seeing Verstappen and Lando attempting to fight to move? Yeah, I mean, well, they're starting alongside each other. So Verstappen, we know, is going to be aggressive. He's not comfortable with the car here this weekend, so he's going to try and force the issue on a few drivers. He's going to try and make up as much ground early on as he possibly can, because I don't think he feels like he has the race pace here. He was very downbeat yesterday, stating he's not a part. He's just participating in the championship. He's not actually involved in the championship, which, yeah, so dramatic, racing drivers, aren't they? So dramatic. What's my opinion on biofuel, Dusko? Yeah. I mean, if it means that we can go back to using kind of... I mean, my opinion on biofuel... I mean, would I have liked to have seen the return of V10s or at least V8s with some sort of, yeah, hybrid system or at least like the KERS system again? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, and biofuel is the way for that, isn't it, really? Because it's more environmentally friendly, which is what obviously F1 wants to push and the manufacturers want to push on the roadside, so... You've got me on F1 on iPhone and MotoGP Qatar on a TV with some bourbons and a cup of tea. That's a weird mixture, some bourbons and a cup of tea, Steve-O. But whatever floats your boat. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, continue to hit the like and subscribe button. We are aiming for 40k. Can we reach 40k subs today? I'm sure we can. So yeah, big thank you to everyone who continues to support this stream and enjoy the content and these watch-alongs. We are hopefully in for a more interesting race here today. Even if Oscar Piastri drives off into the distance, which there is a potentiality that he does that, hopefully we see at least some fighting for the other podium positions and up and down the midfield, because we've had not really a lot to look at up and down the grid the last couple of races, have we? It's approaching 4 p.m. for me here in the UK. So, right, guys, I'm just going to go for a quick loo break as always. We'll have the tyre blankets removed very shortly, and we'll soon find out what strategy options maybe teams are aiming for. Will we see anyone on the soft? Will we see anyone on the hards? I am expecting to come back and see yellow wall tyres up and down the grid here. But as we saw in Suzuka, I'm sure a few teams will be trying something alternative to gain an advantage with the potential of a safety car here, which there is a high percentage that we will see that, as we have done in the past 7 years here. So be back in... Oh, you can count me if you want. I'm going to say 60 seconds. At 60 seconds. Did wash my hands, don't worry. Right. We should be ready to go. We should be ready to go. I got back before the... Oh my goodness. Wow, that is a shock. Soft compound tyres? Soft compound tyres? Wow. Wow, I mean, that's pretty much everyone committing to a two-stop there. That is everyone pretty much committing to a two-stop. I am shocked that we're seeing the soft compound tyre. So the Ferraris are the only two in the top 10 to start on the medium compound tyre. That is intriguing. That is intriguing. Ferrari, I thought the medium compound leaves you most open for variability of strategy, but maybe I am wrong there. Wow, interesting. Let's go two-stoppers. Let's go two-stoppers. Not long to go, guys, until we get underway. Hope you are hunkered down. I hope you've got your beverages and your popcorn sorted, because I do think... I'm a hopeful guy. I do think we are going to have a much better race here this weekend. And in just a couple of minutes' time, less than a couple of minutes' time, at Bahrain. 3 DRS opportunities here, guys. DRS from the exit of turn 15 down to turn 1, and then there is another DRS option from turn 3 up to turn 4. We see lots of overtakes into turn 4. You can overtake on the inside or the outside. You can do the cutback. It's a beautiful corner, and then there's one in the middle section as well, where we don't see too many overtakes from turn 10 to turn 11, but it is possible. It is possible. So yes, 57 laps here at the Bahrain circuit. It is in the evening, 32.5 degree track temperature, very similar to what we saw yesterday in qualifying. Who is going to win this one? Oscar Piastri starting on the softs. Can he get a good launch and lead into turn 1 with that pacey McLaren? We do expect him to comfortably win this today, but if he doesn't get into the lead, we've seen how that McLaren can struggle in dirty air, and with the slowest top speed here this weekend, Oscar Piastri, he really needs to ensure that he leads down into turn 1, and at least at the end of the first lap. When Ferrari does something different, it's going to end up bad. I don't know, you know. I feel like the medium is actually a good tyre to start on, but I mean, maybe I'm the Ferrari strategist this weekend. But yes, Behrman starting on the softs down there as well. Lawson and Bortoletto and Alonso starting on the mediums. So yes, only Doohan, Hadjar, Ocon, Albon. So basically everyone in the bottom half have brand new softs. Everyone in the top half has used softs because they made it into, of course, Q3. I'm telling you, soft is bad in the heat, hard is the best tyre in the race. I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued for this to see how long the hard compound tyre lasts. So if you didn't tune in to our pre-race show, guys, where were you? But Pirelli suggested four 5 strategy options for today. One of them is a one-stop on the medium to the hards. But the soft compound tyre, there was 2 strategy options for the softs today. One is the soft to the medium and the medium again. The second one is the soft to the hard, then the medium. But we're looking at a pit stop window of around 10 to 16 laps. That's what Pirelli are suggesting. Whether that will be sooner or later, who knows? The undercut is quite powerful here, especially if you are transitioning to the medium compound tyre more so than the hard compound. We have seen the hard compound tyre become a bit tricky this weekend and in the past here at Bahrain in warming up the tyres. But once you get them up to temperature, you can go pretty quickly. So let's have a rundown of our grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix, guys. Welcome for tuning in. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's see if we can hit 40k subs today. Big thank you as always for tuning in. Yes, it is Piastri on pole position yesterday in the McLaren, leading from Charles Leclerc, who was promoted up 1 place due to that penalty for that pit lane infringement of being released too early in Q2 for George Russell. Likewise, Pierre Gasly, a great qualifying from him, only a couple of hundredths back from P3 himself on merit to Charles Leclerc. What a lap for the Alpine driver yesterday in P4, also gaining a position because of that penalty to Antonelli. Antonelli looking potentially for his first podium in F1 in only his 4th race weekend. Lando Norris, we know how poor that was for him yesterday in qualifying, starting in 6th, around 4 tenths back from his teammate. He has work to do today to even find himself on the podium. Max Verstappen struggling here this weekend in P7. He's got new brakes on the car. Will that improve him in race trim? Carlos Sainz looking for a big performance here. Of course, he has failed. His season hasn't got off to a good start at Williams, to say the least. He's looking for some good points and to be the best of the rest, or maybe even better. Lewis Hamilton, poor qualifying from him, starting on the medium compound tyre like his teammate. Let's see what he can do. Yuki Tsunoda making it into Q3. A good qualifying for him, like Max Verstappen. Can he drag that? I say drag. Can he make that Red Bull into the points and score his first points for Red Bull as a Red Bull driver? Jack Doohan, unfortunately not able to replicate his teammates' heroics of getting into Q3, but he is in a pacey Alpine here today and he's looking to score his first points of the season. Isaac Hadjar, not able to repeat the heroics of Suzuka, but he is only a couple of positions outside of the top 10. Fernando Alonso in P13, starting on the mediums. Ocon, who had that big crash yesterday, but is able to start today's race on the grid in P14. Alex Albon in P15. Nico Hulkenberg in 16th. Liam Lawson, who had that DRS issue yesterday and went out in Q1 as a result of it, in P17. Bortoletto 18th. Lance Stroll 19th. And Ollie Behrman in 20th. And there we go, guys. We are only moments away from this race getting underway. I hope you are ready. I hope you are ready, guys. Not long to go. Not long to go. I'm going to end the poll. Unsurprisingly, 59% of you think Oscar Piastri is going to win this race today. It's definitely in his hands. Will he lead into the first corner? Will he lead at the end of the first lap? 3 DRS zones here, of course. Started on the soft compound tyres compared to Charles Leclerc on the mediums. Really intrigued to see how the strategies play out today. Let's get ready, guys. Moments away. We are moments away. Oh, I'm excited. I am excited. I hope you guys are too. Here we go. Ollie Behrman coming to the back of the grid there. He's lining up. It'll be lights on. And it surely is. Green light. Away we go, and who is going to lead down into the first corner? Has Oscar Piastri had a decent start there, or has he faltered? Carlos Sainz has made a decent start, as it seems like, unfortunately, the data is having a bit of a... what is going on with the data right now? I'm lost track of who's actually where, as Lando Norris has gained 2 positions down into the first corner, as George Russell is on the attack of Oscar Piastri, and Lando Norris is up into P3. He's going side by side with Charles Leclerc, who's on the medium compound tyres, and Lando Norris, who had a terrible qualifying yesterday, is already up into P3. Can he maintain that position on Charles Leclerc into turn 4? And Lando Norris has just had an unbelievable race start there. That's terrible, you would think, for Oscar Piastri. But Oscar Piastri, with that additional downforce that he has, as Antonelli is making his way down the back of the grid here. Antonelli, what is happening? Oh dear, the data, unfortunately, is having a bit of an issue of deciding what it wants to show. Sorry, Kimi Antonelli fans there to scare you, but Antonelli has indeed lost 2 positions. As Carlos Sainz makes up 2 positions, he's up into P6. A great start for him. As I'm watching the race start, as Lando Norris, as George Russell locks up around the outside of Oscar Piastri, and Charles Leclerc on the mediums was so skittish on Throttle, the medium compound tyre, which will go longer today in the first stint. But Lando Norris Brilliant race start from him, and George Russell attacked Oscar Piastri there and had a brilliant start. He got alongside the McLaren driver, but Piastri on the soft compound tyre, with that extra downforce that he has compared to the Mercedes, was able to maintain that position. So now, thankfully, it seems the data has sorted itself out. Apologies for that technical glitch as we cross the start-finish line. DRS will now be enabled for the first time this race, and well, there are 3 DRS zones here that are available. They will have it activated as they head down into turn 4. Oscar Piastri leads from George Russell. Lando Norris is in P3 with Charles Leclerc down 2 positions in P4 as it currently stands. Pierre Gasly's P5, Sainz is up 2 positions as we can see the Stake F1 drivers struggling at the back of the grid there, as unfortunately I do apologise with the data. It does seem to be the kind of case at the start of each race. The data does take a bit of time to sort itself out, but Russell there with the DRS has not dropped, has not fallen back, from Oscar Piastri with that McLaren, that pacey McLaren. You can see the front 3 already putting a gap from Charles Leclerc, who's on the medium compound tyres. Gasly holding 5th position at the moment, and you can see there it is only George Russell actually has now just lost the DRS of Oscar Piastri. It'll be important for him to maintain that DRS because he will no doubt come under attack pretty quickly from Lando Norris, and then it will be a 1-2 after just a couple of laps potentially here at the start of the Bahrain Grand Prix. But keep an eye out on Lewis Hamilton and those who are on the medium compound tyres. Verstappen is down a position, interestingly, as well, because of Carlos Sainz's great start there. I'll get to see a replay of the race start and I will tell you exactly what happened. Lots of changing of positions, but as it stands, Behrman has made up 5 positions. He's the biggest winner at the moment on the soft compound tyre at the bottom there, starting dead last up into 15th, so he took advantage of those being out of position early on. But here we go. DRS will be activated now for Lando Norris. Russell is still close enough to receive the benefit of the slipstream with Oscar Piastri up in P1. You can see there that interval, that gap to Oscar Piastri and George Russell does decrease with that higher downforce package that the McLaren is running compared to Mercedes. They will have higher top speed, but without DRS, it is not enough to close the gap to Oscar Piastri, who pulls out a bit of a gap in those high traction zones, which is turn 1 and turn 2 as an example, and turn 4. But Lando Norris all over the back of George Russell as he's putting a gap on the medium runner of Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc doing a great job of holding off the Alpine driver of Gasly at the moment. But we're starting to see a couple of gaps form already. Lewis Hamilton, Norris noted false start, out of position. Lando Norris, is that why he made up so many positions at the start of the race? Lando Norris, false start, out of position. Oh dear, normally when that's investigated it's a slam dunk 5-second time penalty. I'll yet to see a replay of exactly what happened at the start to see if it is indeed a full start for Lando Norris, but wow, that will be a shocker for Lando Norris of what seemed to be a brilliant race start for him. 3 positions up already from P6 to P3, and he is trying to gain P2 here. We will see. Normally it's a 5-second time penalty. I'm not sure if it's any more than that, but it will seem a bit unfair to those behind if Lando Norris isn't given a penalty and forced to say give positions back because of a false start. But we will see. We will see. Yet to see a replay of exactly what occurred. But yeah, that is normally a pretty slam dunk penalty as we complete our 3rd lap here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Piastri putting out that gap on George Russell, 1.2 seconds ahead now, with Lando Norris back a further 0.7 seconds. Charles Leclerc maintaining that gap on the medium compound tyres to Lando Norris ahead, a 1.1 second gap. We will see how long these soft compound tyres last for. Have Ferrari pulled a blinder with their strategy? We are so critical of them, of course, but have they pulled a blinder starting on the medium compound tyre with potentially that soft not lasting as long? The predicted pit stop window is 10 laps to 16 laps for the soft runners, so we will see if that does come to fruition as Max Verstappen sets the fastest first sector out of anyone there in P8, but Carlos Sainz at the moment, well, pretty much at the moment it is as is, and we will see hopefully with the tyres starting to fall off soon. some overtakes. We do not want to see, of course, another race where overtaking is difficult, especially at a track like Bahrain, as Antonelli has had track limits again. He's already got 2 track limits violations, Kimi Antonelli, and we could potentially see penalties here today with track limits. I'll keep you informed of that, as Fernando Alonso also picks up one as well. That gap now 1.5 seconds to Piastri at the front, as Norris is closing the gap on George Russell here. It does seem like he needs to be under that half a second mark out of the last corner to get past the pacey in a straight line Mercedes. As we've mentioned numerous times already, the McLaren is running a higher downforce package. It has one of the lowest top speeds here this weekend, so it really does need to take advantage of that extra downforce it has through the corners. But Lando Norris not gaining the time out of the last corner at the moment to take advantage of, it's noted still, again, the race start. As Lewis Hamilton is reporting, grip is quite poor on this tyre, on the medium compound tyre, as he is still within the DRS of Max Verstappen, though, so he's not falling back too heavily. As Antonelli gets past Carlos Sainz, we've seen an overtake on track, and Kimi Antonelli, who lost 2 positions at the start of this race to Gasly and Carlos Sainz, has been able to overtake him down into turn 1. That's left Sainz out of position as Max Verstappen looks for a move on Carlos Sainz, the former Toro Rosso teammates of the former AlphaTauri in the past, and Max, with those new brake pads in that Red Bull, does dispatch the Williams driver of Carlos Sainz. Maybe potentially not his fight today, and Carlos Sainz, after gaining 2 positions at the start of this race, slots back into the position where he started in P8, and Verstappen moves up into P7. Ooh, what about Lando's punishment? It's still under investigation. I'm still yet to see an exact replay on the TV coverage to see what occurred with his race start and why it was out, why he had a false start. Is it a slam dunk? Was he out of position? I have no idea. Well, I mean, normally it is pretty much a slam dunk. We have seen multiple false starts at the end of we saw multiple false starts last year, but it didn't. We saw them pretty much be slam dunks. Still yet to see an absolute reason. So Max Verstappen had a great overtake round the outside of Carlos Sainz, actually. So it was a great race in there between Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. Was that within track limits there? It did seem like it. He puffed up a bit of gravel there, dipping a wheel into the gravel, Max Verstappen, as he overtook Carlos Sainz. I'm not sure if it was track limits, as Max is complaining he doesn't leave me a car's width. We'll see. Well, technically, I think Carlos Sainz was ahead at the apex, so Max Verstappen becoming subject, it seems, there. So watching the race start, just seeing if it's a full start for Lando Norris. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it from the overhead shot that Lando full started there. I will see, no doubt we'll see the onboard very shortly. So you must be talking milliseconds. No doubt it's flagged up on the computer system no doubt it would have flagged up on the computer system whether Orlando had full started or not, which is why it's under investigation, as there are track limits violations across the board at the moment, further for Hadjar, for Alonso, and for Esteban Ocon. Yet to still see a replay of the onboard for Lando Norris. Oh, he was over his grid spot. Oh no, so it's not a full start for Lando per se, for actually, oh no, so yeah, that could be that's a slam dunk penalty really. Max reported on the radio that Lando was outside of his grid box, and well, he most definitely was outside of his grid spot, unless his wheels are touching. I don't know the actual state, I'm struggling to see another shot to see exactly where his tyres are, if they're touching the white line or not. I don't know the specific rules of the grid slot and where the tyres have to be touching. But yes, most definitely, Lando looks like he's ahead of his grid starting spot, where he didn't actually full start. That's why it says out of position. So yeah, they still haven't announced whether he is out of position and whether he'll get a penalty for that. But yes, looking at this, just rejoin the race, as Nico Hülkenberg is the first one to pull the trigger off of the soft compound tyre. Isaac Hadjar dipping into the pit lane as well. This is very early. The undercut is powerful here, guys. But this is very early, even earlier than predicted. Then Pirelli, 10 to 16 laps was the pit stop window for the soft compound tyres, and Nico Hülkenberg is pitted early, as has Isaac Hadjar. Of course, we know clean air is king, but we will see if they're able to switch on those medium compound tyres. And Nico Hülkenberg, who was quite considerably down, he was a few positions back from Isaac Hadjar, has got ahead of him. So that is how powerful the undercut is here. Will anyone respond to that? I presume we will see some responses from those on the soft compound tyre in relation to to that undercut that we just saw from Nico Hulkenberg on Isaac Hadjar, unless it was a considerably slow pit stop from the RB team. Interestingly, Max Verstappen still was just within track limits, by the way, with that overtake of Carlos Sainz, so I don't believe that will be investigated. And it's a 5-second time penalty confirmed for Lando Norris out of position. And, well, I tell you what, Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly and Kimi Antonelli, who he overtook at the start of the race, will not be too happy about that, because really that 5-second time penalty, which will be taken as a stop-hold penalty when it comes to his next pit stop, probably not justified, because that 5-second time penalty right now for Lando Norris would drop him, potentially right out in front of Max Verstappen. So, 5-second time penalty is a bit... He's got off there. He's massively got off of one there. As Gasly is stating, Leclerc is struggling a lot with the medium tyre. So the Ferrari driver's struggling on that medium compound tyre at the start of this race. We'll see how long they'll be able to take it. No one responds to Hadjar and Hulkenberg on that onto that medium compound tyre. It does seem like it's quite an early pit stop, even for the soft runners. We will see as George Russell is under full attack now by Lando Norris. Less than half a second Lando Norris is in that McLaren to George Russell. Of course, he has a 5-second time penalty that he now needs to make up here and try and limit the damage, as Hadjar does get past Nico Hulkenberg down into turn 1. The two drivers fighting for position there. Yes, they're in 19th and 20th, but they have made a pit stop already. And, well, will Nico Hulkenberg be able to come back at the Frenchman here down into turn 4? No, he's not able to with the DRS back open. But George Russell under full attack here by Lando Norris. How quickly will Lando Norris be able to get past George Russell? It seems like that Oscar Piastri also just got a bit of a move on there as well, as he has just pulled out. He's now at 3 seconds ahead of George Russell and Lando Norris. So that's either Oscar Piastri getting a move on there in the middle sector, or that is just George Russell struggling, potentially. As Lando is now being told he has been given a 5-second time penalty for being out of position. Any response from Lando Norris on the radio? No, none that was replayed that I am aware of. So Lando Norris just being told to get on with it. So DRS open for Lando. It's the closest he's been to George Russell for some time. Of course, he'll have another opportunity down into turn 4 as Hadjar on that brand new medium sets the fastest middle sector of anyone down in P19. Lewis Hamilton on the attack of Carlos Sainz as well. Is this where we're now starting to see the soft compound tyre fall off? Is Lewis able to make a move on the driver? He replaced at Ferrari. Oh, I'm not sure if he's able to there. He will have another opportunity down into turn 4. Of course, Carlos Sainz, he's gone well here in the past at Bahrain. Will Lewis Hamilton be able to overtake the Sainz in the Williams as he heads round to turn 4? He's making the move, and Lewis Hamilton gets the move down on Carlos Sainz, but no, Sainz regains the position on Lewis Hamilton. And, well, Lewis Hamilton finds himself still stuck behind Carlos Sainz in that Williams, with Yuki Tsunoda and Jack Doohan closing down that gap as well. Great racing here, as I think Yuki's gone for a move on Lewis Hamilton down into turn 8. Has he been able to make that move stick? It looks like they're side by side. They could be 3 wide almost as they head down into turn 10. And no, Yuki backs out of it as they head into the downhill braking zone of turn 10. They will have DRS though as they head down into turn 11. And is this potentially the soft compound tyre falling off here? We can see that gap at the front with Oscar Piastri and Russell pulling out as Lewis Hamilton does now finally get past Carlos Sainz. That was important for Lewis Hamilton's there, as Charles Leclerc reports the brakes are so inconsistent. It's so annoying. Yesterday it was the Verstappen in the Red Bull complaining about the brakes. Now it's Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, as Yuki Tsunoda also dispatches Carlos Sainz there and finds himself up a position into P9 as well. A good overtake for Yuki Tsunoda. And will we see Carlos Sainz pit here? In just the space of a lap, he's lost 2 positions. And, well, let's see. Yes, Carlos Sainz seems to be just struggling with so much grip with that soft compound tyre, as he was completely out of position there. And, well, Yuki Tsunoda just bided his time and waited for Lewis to make the move on Carlos Sainz, as he forced him out of position, and Yuki just slotted his way through. So Sainz still stays out there though as we head down into turn 1. Jack Doohan also responds and pits now as well. We've seen Esteban Ocon make another pit stop, and, well, Lewis Hamilton and Yuki Tsunoda There's a couple of gaps between them. By the way, Kimi Antonelli already has three track limits violations. So he is on the brink of potentially receiving a black and white flag and a 5-second time penalty there, as George Russell is still holding off Lando Norris as it currently stands, who has that 5-second time penalty that will be taken the next time around in that pit stop. But Antonelli is struggling at the moment, it seems, out there on this soft compound tyre, as Pierre Gasly is under attack from Max Verstappen down into turn 10. They're side by side. Has Max been able to make the move on Pierre Gasly? No, he holds him off just briefly, but Max will have DRS as he heads down into turn 11, and then he'll have Antonelli in his sights. Pierre Gasly, who's doing tremendous work here in the Alpine here this weekend, holds off Max into turn 11, and well, maybe Max just thought better of it and wants to bide his time as he heads down the start-finish straight and maybe into turn 4, but Pierre Gasly fighting off his former teammate in the Alpine there. Max Verstappen currently in P7, where he started. That's allowed Kimi Antonelli just to pull away a little bit of a gap there from Pierre Gasly. We'll see if Max has an easier time of it down into turn 1, as Gasly, I don't believe, has DRS, as Charles Leclerc gets ahead of Lando Norris as Norris decides to pit. Lando, who was coming unstuck behind George Russell and has a 5-second time penalty to take here in this pit stop, pits, as does Pierre Gasly, as does Max Verstappen. Pit 10 laps basically is what we have seen, as predicted by Pirelli, is the pit window here today on the soft compound tyre. We are starting to see the trigger be pulled, and well, the 2-stop is most definitely being committed to on that full fuel. The soft compound tyre has just not lasted here at the very high abrasive Bahrain circuit. So Oscar Piastri, let's have an update of the grid as Lando Norris ends up down into P1. I believe they've taken that penalty as Max Verstappen comes out quite considerably behind Pierre Gasly there. So I think Red Bull have had an uncharacteristically poor pit stop again, because look at that gap from Pierre Gasly to Max Verstappen. That is a very slow pit stop for Verstappen. I'm yet to see exactly what occurred. And well, the faultless Red Bull team, who were breaking world records not too long ago for their pit stops, have been struggling as of late as the pressure builds in that Red Bull out on track. So let's just see exactly what happened with that Red Bull in the pit stop. Was it quick enough? And no, yes, Max had to be held. Max had to be held. There was one of the tyres was not on correctly. So Max Verstappen had a very slow pit stop there. I'm not entirely sure as to whether he got if Lando took his 5-second time penalty there. I'm still yet to see it. As Max Verstappen is on the hard compound tyre, yes, because he has 2 brand new hards available to him. He doesn't have 2 brand new mediums, so he can use the medium again. He can use the medium in his second stint, if so, or he can use the hard compounds. As Tsunoda now dives into the pit lane, let's see what he could do, as that incident involving Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen has been noted. That's very interesting, as that was on lap 11. That says that they're investigating that now, but that was back in the 4th lap of the race. So that's taken them a considerable amount of time to investigate that. Not entirely sure. It did look like that Sainz was ahead at the apex, and did Max actually overtake off track? I'm not entirely sure. We will see, as Yuki Tsunoda finds himself out in P19. What has happened to Yuki there? Is that also another slow pit stop for the Red Bull team? That's also a very slow pit stop, as Max Verstappen says, F, man. F, thank you for the $2. By the way, 2 €. Russell is so underrated. Russell is doing a great job thus far, maintaining a 4-second gap to Oscar Piastri at the moment. Charles Leclerc on the mediums is starting to, his lap times are consistent with George Russell at the moment, 39.1 last time around. Antonelli starting to fall off on those soft compound tyres, as we can see. But Lewis Hamilton did a 39.1 also last time around. He gained half a second on Kimi Antonelli last time out. We'll see what the lap times are as they cross the start-finish line, or whether or not anyone else will make a pit stop. As Lando Norris gets past Bortoleto there on the medium compound tyre. Of course, it looks like Lando does have pace here today, but he did come unstuck behind that of George Russell earlier on the same set of tyres, a soft compound tyre. But George Russell that time around was a 39.0, as Antonelli does indeed dive into the pit lane. It seems like a smart decision for them as he was starting to bleed time there on the soft compound tyre. Lewis Hamilton is promoted up into 4th and is now only 1 place behind his teammate. Carlos Sainz up into 5th. Albon up 9 positions into P6, by the way. Of course, a number of drivers here yet to make pit stops as Lando Norris, as a result of that, is also launched up the grid as Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the race there of 37.2 on the hard compound tyre. As we can see, Bortoletto coming under attack from Pierre Gasly as well, as Lando Norris is now up into P10. Gasly does dispatch the Stake F1 car, understandably, on a brand new set of mediums compared to Pierre Bortoletto, is still yet to pit. But Max Verstappen, who had a considerably slow pit stop there because of a tyre not being on correctly, lost essential time, especially in his fight to Pierre Gasly as they pitted at the same time. But he has come out ahead of Kimi Antonelli as the undercut is powerful here. We do expect there to be another pit stop here today, guys. And by the way, if you are enjoying this stream, please continue to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Just a little break there in the commentary as we're trying to hit 40k subs. Over 12,500 of you right now and only 750 likes. Go on, just hit that thumbs up for us if you are enjoying this commentary and this stream, guys. There's still a very long way to go here. 45 laps remaining. Oscar Piastri is your leader, still yet to make a pit stop, leading by 4.3 seconds to George Russell in P2, and George Russell is being closed down now by Charles Leclerc as we're starting to see that crossover period of the medium compound tyre to as George Russell does indeed pit. Sorry, George Russell does pit. So yes, we are seeing that crossover period of the mediums where the drivers who started on the mediums, which is quite few and far between, the 2 Ferrari drivers and a couple of drivers further down the pack in Alonso and Liam Lawson and Bortoletto, they are starting to come good, shall we say, or their lap times are starting to get quicker than those on the soft compound tyre. George Russell, where is he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of Lando Norris? Is he going to be able to come out ahead of Lando Norris? He is, I believe, as Tsunoda also got held at the pits as well in the pit lane. So that's why Yuki Tsunoda, 2 very poor pit stops there for both of Yuki Tsunoda and and Max Verstappen. As George Russell did come out ahead of Lando Norris, and well, that is, I do believe Lando Norris took his 5-second time penalty in the pit lane. So Lando Norris has made up considerable amount of time on George Russell, considering he had to take a 5-second time penalty. So that undercut, super powerful, but no doubt George Russell, once he gets his tyres up to temperature, will come good as well, and he will maybe start to pull out a bit of time on Lando Norris, as Lando Norris is fighting Fernando Alonso here for track position, so Alonso can fight as hard as he wants to, but I do expect Lando Norris to get past Alonso pretty quickly. Thank you, George, by the way, the missus. I know you're biased, but thank you for saying the commentary's nice and supporting the channel. What a lovely, lovely partner she is. Couldn't ask for a better one. If Leclerc pits now, he's in front of Norris. If he waits, he will end up behind Norris because Norris is going faster and catching. Yes, however, the Ferraris potentially could be going for a one-stop here, and they're clearly on a different strategy. As Oscar Piastri is in the pit lane, and Charles Leclerc inherits the lead from Oscar Piastri on that medium compound tyre. Lewis Hamilton should come out behind him in second, I believe. As they are going along. Sainz is ahead of his teammate and Albon there, and well, there is a bit of a change up here in the order as Behrman now dips into the pit lane. Sainz is also pitting from 5th place. We'll just hold fire at the moment in relation to a grid update, as we are seeing multiple pit stops here and changes of position, as Lando Norris does easily dispatch Alonso up into P1. Sorry, P1, turn 1. Sorry. Lando Norris is P6. He's not P1. Apologies. Antonelli, by the way, update on track limits. He has 4 track limits violations, 1 more track limit for Antonelli, and he will have a 5-second time penalty. Isaac Hadjar is next closest on 3 as well, as Liam Lawson comes out of the pit lane. And is he going to get ahead of Bortoletto down into turn 1? It does seem like he is. And I think, other than Fernando Alonso and the 2 Ferraris at the front, as this track surface is slippery in turn 10. What has happened there into turn 10? Is that just a bit of gravel of some sort? Not entirely sure why that is. Also, no further investigation for that overtake of Max Verstappen around the outside of Carlos Sainz into turn 4, as Bortoletto is having a move on Liam Lawson there down into turn 6. Is he able to get past him? No, he's not, as George Russell dispatches Alex Albon there, still yet to make a pit stop on the soft compound tyre, starting way out of position. Alex Albon, he's currently up 10 places, maybe potentially waiting for a safety car, or he's going to try the one stop, which would be fair old feat here if he's going to be able to try the one-stop. But let's have a rundown of your grid with only a couple of drivers still yet to make pit stops here. It is Charles Leclerc, who is P1, who started on the medium compound tyre with Hamilton in P2. The Ferraris, the only two drivers in the top 10 to start on the mediums. Oscar Piastri, who was 4 seconds ahead of George Russell at the time of pitting. At the time of George Russell pitting, is now only 1.9 seconds ahead of George Russell, who is in technically net P3, you do net P2 at the moment. So the undercut is powerful here, as we have seen, with George Russell closing that gap almost by half by pitting just a few laps earlier. Alex Albon is up into P5, still yet to make a pit stop on the soft compound tyre, up 10 places. Lando Norris, who did have a 5-second time penalty, pitted early to get rid of it because he was out of his grid slot position. He was just slightly too far ahead of it, made up 3 places at the start. Maybe as a result of that, I'm sure the team, the drivers he overtook in Gasly, Leclerc and Antonelli will not be too happy that he only got a 5-second time penalty, as he has been able to nullify that pretty quickly, it seems, as he is still in P3, but is falling back behind George Russell at the moment. Pierre Gasly is in P7, a good showing by Pierre Gasly is quite comfortably the best of the rest at the moment. He is ahead of Verstappen, he is ahead of Antonelli, who we will get to very quick shortly, as Fernando Alonso still on the mediums, still yet to make a pit stop. As Antonelli is on the attack of Max Verstappen, who is on the hard compound tyres, by the way, as Fernando Alonso all aboard the Alonso train, as Leclerc is told. At the moment, we're still on for Plan B, for Bravo, is what Charles Leclerc has been told. So is that a one-stop strategy? Is that a one-stop strategy being implemented here by Ferrari? It does seem like everyone, barring a safety car, has already committed to a 2-stop strategy by them going onto the medium compound tyre. Max Verstappen is on the hard compound, so he may be trying the one-stop, but he does have 2 brand new hards available to him. As Albon does now decide to pit off that medium compound tyre, he's made it 17 laps, as he will now fall down the order, and those below him will move up. As, by the way, Esteban Ocon has done tremendously well. I've just noticed here that Esteban Ocon is up 7 positions on merit in P7. Where has Esteban Ocon made up 7 positions? That is unbelievable right now. That Esteban Ocon is up into P7, considering he absolutely ruined that car yesterday in Q2. And, well, it looked like he wouldn't even struggle to make it to the grid. But with a new gearbox in that car and multiple new components, but they haven't changed the setup, it seems, he has been able to start on the grid and is currently in P7, up 7 places, and currently holding off Max Verstappen, who is in P8. Kimi Antonelli is in P9. He is trying to chase down the Dutchman as well. He has looked pacey here this weekend. They are on different strategies, so we'll see whether or not Antonelli on that softer medium is going to be able to overtake him, as Jack Doohan is also in P10 with Yuki Tsunoda a few seconds behind him with a poor pit stop by Red Bull, which has pushed him outside of the points, as he was in P9 earlier on. Isaac Hadjar is where he started in P12. Sainz is down 5 places into P13. What happened to Sainz? I clearly missed something with Carlos Sainz. Potentially had a slow pit stop as well. I know he lost a few positions. So as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton pit, this seems a bit early. I'm surprised. Well, this seems very early if they're trying to attempt a one-stop here for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Pretty much a double stack for the 2 Ferrari drivers. But interesting. What are Ferrari attempting to do here? There are multiple 2-stop strategies on offer here today. It isn't just on the soft compound tyre. They do have 2 brand new mediums available to them to use today, the Ferrari drivers, as well as a brand new set of hards. And, well, yes, they have gone back onto the set of mediums. A brand new set of mediums. So Ferrari have been told, yes, Charles Leclerc was complaining about Delta. So not entirely sure what happened there, as Lewis Hamilton has come out behind Yuki Tsunoda, as Carlos Sainz is falling off of a cliff here. He is struggling. He's now under attack by Isaac Hadjar. I'm not entirely sure what is happening with Carlos. Or did Carlos Sainz just get past Hadjar? Apologies. It's the other way round. Sainz isn't falling off of a cliff. He's overtaking Isaac Hadjar, and Sainz extended his pit stop. That's why, apologies. His first stint was extended, which is why he has lost time. So he should gather that back as the race progresses. As Charles Leclerc is looking to overtake Pierre Gasly down into turn 11. He'll be looking to quickly dispatch the Frenchman, his fellow Frenchman, down into turn 11. The best friends. And Charles Leclerc does overtake Gasly there. It's not his fight today. Pierre Gasly on on Charles Leclerc, as that is important for him, as he now has some clean air and will be able to chase down Lando Norris, who he has 7-lap fresher tyres on, as Lando Norris is chasing down George Russell. Interestingly, last time around, George Russell lost 6 tenths to Lando Norris on the previous lap, as Verstappen is complaining he has no tyre grip at all. So is the hard compound tyre just not the tyre of choice here today? Is it the medium? Have Ferrari potentially played a blinder here, as Behrman is being no further investigation for an unsafe release? They've gone on the medium. They've been able to extend a bit longer on that first stint than everyone else. They have a brand new set of mediums to use, and well, with potentially switching to the soft compound tyres towards the end, as Yuki Tsunoda is dispatched by Lewis Hamilton down into turn 1. Will they be strong at the end? It's looking like there will be a convergence potentially out on track come the end of this race, which always provides us some great racing here. So, Piastri, update now as everyone has made a pit stop. Let's have a run through our grid, shall we? With 39 laps remaining, Oscar Piastri leads from George Russell by 3.2 seconds. He has pulled out that gap by 1.2 after the pit stops, as George Russell pulled the undercut and was able to halve that deficit to the McLaren driver. But as he's now got those up to temperature, he has extended his lead. Lando Norris is in P3, chasing down George Russell. He gained a further 6-7 tenths last time around, Lando Norris and George Russell. So Lando Norris is clearly on the attack right now to try and catch George Russell. But will he have enough tyres by the time he catches him? Is this just George Russell trying to save at this stage in the race, or is he genuinely struggling? We will see. Charles Leclerc, who has made a pit stop and gone 7 laps longer than that of Lando Norris and 5 laps longer than that of Russell and Piastri, is in P4 on a brand new set of mediums. As let's just have an update on the gap between George Russell and Lando Norris as they cross the start-finish line and now start lap 20 of this race. And Lando Norris, it once again took 6 tenths, half a second out of George Russell last time around. He is going to catch him, you do presume, in a couple of laps' time. DRS activated when he gets within that 1 second range, as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race there in P10, chasing down Jack Doohan on brand new set of mediums, as Max Verstappen is struggling on that hard compound tyre. He's actually losing ground to Esteban Ocon on the medium compound tyre of 38.5 last time around for Max Verstappen. But let's just go back to this grid, as it looks like Antonelli might be making an overtake on Max Verstappen there, round the outside of Max Verstappen down into turn 4, and Antonelli and Verstappen are side by side as they head into turn 6, and Max Verstappen has been overtaken by the young Italian, the 18-year-old, as he's struggling on that hard compound tyre. It seems to be a potential mistake here by Red Bull, a rare mistake in the strategy. They've got 2 brand new hards available to them. They have no more medium compound tyres available, and it looks like Max Verstappen, who has just been dispatched by Kimi Antonelli into P7, might have to just ride this out, as he could be losing further positions, as Jack Doohan is actually on the attack here. And he's going a couple of attempts quicker than that of Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton is fast approaching as well. Is there been a mistake, a fatal mistake by Red Bull in their strategy options today? Potentially, as Pierre Gasly, let's go back through our grid, as Pierre Gasly is P5, Esteban Ocon up 8 positions, pulling away, yes, from Max Verstappen there in P6. How Ocon is up into P6 right now is an unbelievable drive, and a great strategy call by the Haas team. As Kimi Antonelli, we just saw make an overtake on Max there, struggling on the hard compound tyre in P7. Verstappen is P8. Doohan is in P9, chasing down Max Verstappen now. As you can see, that gap to Antonelli and Verstappen actually well, there's daylight between them, as Max, with the DRS though, does close in on that Mercedes down into turn 1. But how long will he be able to stay in that DRS of Antonelli? We will see. Jack Doohan, yes, in P9. Hamilton closing down both of those drivers in P10 on a brand new set of mediums. Yuki Tsunoda is falling away and struggling with grip, it seems, compared to Lewis Hamilton in P11. Carlos Sainz, who pitted a lot later than those ahead, as Hadjar is actually coming under attack from Ollie Behrman, it seems, who is up 6 positions already, as Ollie Behrman, the rookie, had a very poor qualifying yesterday. Like his teammate, is up a considerable amount of positions here. The Haas drivers doing wonders on strategy. And well, while Max Verstappen is struggling on the hard compound tyre, it seems that Ollie Behrman is doing much better in that Haas, as he is up 7 positions and now into P13 after he started dead last. Hadjar now into 14th. Albon is on the hard compound tyre in 15th, Hulkenberg 16th, Alonso 17th, Stroll 18th, Lawson in 19th, and Bortoletto is in 20th. And I'm just looking at the lap times compared to Max Verstappen, and well, it seems that Max Verstappen, yes, he's considerably struggling on that hard compound tyre, as Alex Albon is doing 2.5 seconds a lap quicker than Max, and the other driver, BAHRAIN, is also quicker than Max on that hard compound tyre as well. So it's just that Red Bull with Max Verstappen struggling on that hard compound tyre. We'll have a bit more of a relative time this time around as he crosses the start-finish line. But he could be under attack here from by Jack Doohan, but Jack Doohan is probably looking in his rearview mirrors of that red Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton with the DRS open. Will Lewis go for a move? But you can see there Doohan closing in the gap on Max Verstappen, as Max did a 38.9 last time around, whereas BAHRAIN did a 38.6, and well, Alex Albon, as he crosses the line, does a 38.0. As Doohan is dispatched by Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton now has Max Verstappen set in his crosshairs. But yes, Max Verstappen considerably slow on those hard compound tyres. He is, other than Lawson and Bortoletto down in 19th and 20th, he is the slowest runner on the hards at the moment. So yes, struggling on that tyre, but he has to stay on it as he has no other tyre to go to, and will no doubt have to see this out until he gets onto the softs in the last stint. Unbelievable here by Red Bull. They have it's been a struggle weekend here for Max Verstappen, as he's already under threat by Lewis Hamilton with that medium compound tyre. The gap by George Russell, by the way, to Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, well, the gap at the front has increased. It's now nearly 5 seconds between Piastri and George Russell, as Lewis Hamilton does dispatch Max Verstappen as they head down into turn 11. But Max, I think, tries to fight it, but he cannot. He just does not have the grip. And you can see there, Lewis Hamilton already starting to pull a bit more of a gap, starting to pull daylight between him and Max Verstappen on the icons on the track map there as they head through turn 13. And now, well, Max Verstappen could be in the last points position very quickly, with Jack Doohan no doubt chomping at the bit to get past Max Verstappen. He'd like to have that at least on his F1 CV before his F1 career potentially comes to an end, as we know Colapinto is waiting in the wings. As look, you can see there that daylight between Hamilton and Verstappen. He just does not have the grip through the corners. It closes with the DRS, as there's a black and white flag for Isaac Hadjar, as Kimi Antonelli will be given a 5-second time penalty. You see there a black and white flag for Kimi Antonelli. Well, that was not too long ago, as Kimi Antonelli now has 5 track limits violations. I believe that will now be a 5-second time penalty for Kimi Antonelli when it comes through. Isaac Hadjar has 3, or actually, has Kimi Antonelli already been given one? Kimi Antonelli may have already been given one. No, he hasn't. Kimi Antonelli hasn't been given a penalty yet, but I expect that to come through, unless the track limits indicator is informing me that he doesn't have 5. I believe that is a penalty, guys. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Max extracts everything from the car, but there ain't much to extract from a golf cart type car. No, indeed. Very, very tricky. I can't even brake anymore. It's just ridiculous. Max Verstappen, who was struggling with his brakes yesterday in qualifying, he had a brand new brakes applied to that car today with the approval of the FIA, and yes, he is not happy in that Red Bull. And I tell you what, it's struggle city today for Max Verstappen, and he's going to have to be happy just sneaking a point here today, I think, with still another pit stop yet to be made. But look at that gap between George Russell, Norris, and in particular, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is closing in on George Russell. Let's get it right, Scott. Charles Leclerc is closing in on Lando Norris down into turn 1. He goes for the move. Charles Leclerc from miles back. He has younger medium compound tyres. He went for the move, and I think Lando just allowed him to send it, and he's going to be able to hold on to this position for just another lap. But Charles Leclerc went for a move from miles back there. Confidence by Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari at the moment. With 7-lap younger medium compound tyres, this will allow George Russell to have a bit more breathing space to Lando Norris, who hasn't been able to close that gap as he's got into the dirty air of George Russell. This is what we were concerned about with the McLaren, is that it is mighty in clean air. It was important for Piastri to lead this race after lap 1, especially into the first corner, because the McLaren is not all supreme in dirty air, as Lando Norris has found out. His damage limitation at the moment But a podium position could be off the cards here, as Charles Leclerc, who started on the medium compound tyres, who extended that, who went quite a bit longer on that first stint, and will be finishing, no doubt, on the soft compound tyre, is charging at Lando Norris and did go for a move. I'm yet to see the actual overtake attempt down into turn 1. Didn't see anything. He did, I don't know, maybe I missed it. Apologies. But yes, we'll go again, as Charles Leclerc does evidently have more pace right now than Lando Norris with 7-lap fresher tyres. You can see that gap to George Russell actually increasing between Russell and Norris at the moment. The gap to Oscar Piastri is where it is. George Russell really knows that the race win is not on here today, but here we go. Charles Leclerc again. DRS open as he heads down into turn 1. Will he go for the move, or will he just be patient with that DRS down into turn 4? Yes, he'll be getting a slight slipstream from George Russell ahead, but he won't have DRS Lando Norris, and this is going to leave him vulnerable down into turn 4. There's only 2 tenths between Charles Leclerc, 1 tenth. They'll surely be side by side. They are side by side, as Charles Leclerc has already got the move done before they head into turn 4. Lando cannot fight it in that McLaren, and well, Lando on that medium compound tyre where he had to pit early because of that 5-second time penalty for a technical false start for starting outside of his grid slot, has now dropped down into P4, and well, there is still a very long way to go in this race. 33 laps remaining, but Charles Leclerc, we were questioning whether it was the right decision for Ferrari to start on the medium compound tyre, and it looks quite good right now as Lewis Hamilton is closing that gap on Esteban Ocon as well, as Hamilton did get past Antonelli. I did miss that, apologies, but Hamilton is now up into P7 as he has got past Kimi Antonelli and is chasing down Esteban Ocon as well. And well, he surely will have a look at Pierre Gasly before not too long either, and get himself up into the top 5 after starting in 9th place. But interesting here, guys, interesting. Very long way to go. The race, I think, is much better already than what we have seen in China and Suzuka, and even in Australia with those weather conditions. But it was a simple overtake for Charles Leclerc on Lando Norris. Lando just could not respond to Charles Leclerc at all, and well, that McLaren, yes, as we mentioned, struggling a bit more in the dirty air than those around them. Interesting, guys, interesting. Everyone has made a pit stop thus far. Yes, 32 laps remaining in this race. Everyone has made a pit stop as Lewis Hamilton, DRS open on Esteban Ocon, who is up 7 positions, and like his teammate, dispatches Ocon down into turn 1 before he even gets there. But Esteban Ocon will potentially be able to come back at Lewis, but you do suspect with that additional traction he has on those younger tyres, he will be able to cover off Ocon up into turn 4, and he does indeed. And well, Esteban Ocon is having a blinder here today as Alonso dispatches Hulkenberg down into P17 there. We can see the tyre offsets here. Hulkenberg on 20-lap old mediums compared to Alonso on 9-lap mediums, and just how much a tyre offset is required for overtaking in this current set of regulations. It is required. It's why overtaking was so few and far between, or non-existent really, at Suzuka and of course at China, because with the newly relayed track surface, or some of it, the tyres just did not degrade at all, whereas at Bahrain that is not the case. The highest abrasive circuit here on the calendar, and that is providing us with some good racing here today, and we still have a very long way to go. Plenty can still happen, that is for sure. You're telling the Red Bull are concentrating on 2026 rig changes. I'm not so sure. But yes, McLaren definitely at the front at the moment, as is Oscar Piastri with a 6-second lead now over George Russell. George Russell being closed down upon by Charles Leclerc. Now, Lando Norris was unable to take advantage, overtake George Russell. He caught him, but without a significant tyre advantage, as he pitted earlier than George Russell, he wasn't able to even get side by side George, whereas Charles Leclerc does have 4-lap younger tyres, as Max Verstappen pulls the trigger very early and is coming off of that terrible hard compound tyre that he has struggled with. He only has another brand new set of hards available to him. He doesn't have a set of mediums, so will he... No, apologies, he does have a set of mediums. He didn't start on the mediums, he started on the softs. So no, Max, no doubt, will probably go on the mediums and try and take this to the end if he can. But yes, this is no doubt not in not what they had planned. I imagine Red Bull at the start of today, as Max Verstappen drops dead last at the moment. But everyone else still yet to make another pit stop, as Max is on the medium compound tyres. But he really has to try and take this to the end, and 31 laps on this same set of mediums is a tall order, unless Max could be making a free stopper here today and switching onto the soft compound tyre at the end of the race. But yes, not going that hit Max Verstappen's way this weekend with issues with the brakes and just the car being very undrivable, as Yuki Tsunoda, the other Red Bull driver, is in P10 at the moment. Jack Doohan promoted up another position there into P9 due to Max Verstappen's there, as Oscar Piastri is told priority here is Plan B. Plan B for Oscar Piastri. So is that a different two-stop strategy? Potentially. There were multiple two-stop strategies on the cards here today. McLaren do have another set of medium tyres available to them, as do the Ferrari. Ferrari have to go on the hards or the softs. I believe the Ferraris will be switching to the soft compound tyre, as Max makes quick work of his Team Redline Sim Racing teammate, Gabriel Bortoletto there in P20. Of course, two very different races for those drivers, as Antonelli is in the pit lane and Esteban Ocon. So we are starting to see that medium compound tyre come to the end of its life, and these teams make their second pit stop. So, of course, so maybe they can think they can go to the end on these tyres. Are they going to go onto the hards? As Lando Norris is being told, there is still opportunity for him in this race with the strategies that are still on offer for them. So yes, Lando Norris, while he is there behind Charles Leclerc at the moment, who has come a bit unstuck behind George Russell, as Lando Norris found out as well. He's got into the dirty air, that 1.2 second range behind George Russell, and he hasn't really been able to make up any ground. So Charles Leclerc is starting to find the same issues that Lando Norris also found himself in, although he did take a bit of time there out of George Russell into turn 11, but that Mercedes does seem to be pretty quick in a straight line. 37.9s for both Russell and Leclerc last time around, as well as Lando Norris, as there are a lot of track limits violations coming through at the moment. I'm still yet to see why. Is it track limits violations, ladies and gentlemen? Is it 5? Is it 6 and you get a penalty, or is it 3 then the fourth time? I'm losing track of the track limits violations penalties, as Kimi Antonelli quite clearly has 5 track limits violations being indicated here, and he hasn't had a 5-second time penalty. Why is Red Bull so slow today? They've just struggled this weekend, it seems. I don't know. That small window of operation that we know the Red Bull needs, if it does hit it, like we saw in Suzuka, it is a very quick car and can fight for race wins. It clearly has not been found here this weekend at the Bahrain circuit, as Pierre Gasly is in the pit lane, as is Jack Doohan as well, as Pierre Gasly has been held for a bit too long for my liking. Pierre Gasly, who has done a tremendous job this weekend thus far, as Ollie Behrman is being overtaken, it seems, by Alex Albon, as Alex Albon now promotes himself up into P8 with Carlos Sainz also in P7. Will Behrman be able to come back at him? I'm not sure, as he's on, actually on similar lap old hard compound tyres there, but no, Alex Albon does dispatch Ollie Behrman as Hadjar dives into the pit lane as well. Pierre Gasly, did he have a slow pit stop? That seemed a bit unnecessarily slow for Pierre Gasly. Where has he come out? He's currently in P10, and Max Verstappen overtakes Lance Stroll down into turn 4, making ground up on that brand new set of mediums. Antonelli's on a brand new set of softs. That's intriguing. Do they think they can go to the end on a set of softs? We are seeing such varied strategies here today. That is truly bold by Antonelli. Are they going for a free-stop strategy? Mercedes, or have they pulled a Ferrari strategy there? Antonelli, who's already made 2 pit stops, he's got onto the soft compound tyre, and I tell you what, that is a considerable distance for him, even on a lighter fuel load, to take those soft compound tyres. We will see whether or not he's going to be able to. That's surely them committing to a free stop strategy here today. Maybe because the hard compound tyre has been seen to not be that good of a tyre. We've seen Max Verstappen struggle on it. Maybe they're thinking the two, without an extra set of mediums available to them, they're going to have to commit to an additional pit stop here. So we could see a potential aggressive Kimi Antonelli at the end, as Max Verstappen has now found himself back out behind Antonelli. So while he did drop down to 20th briefly, because of the different strategies that are on offer here today, as Yuki Tsunoda is coming under attack by Carlos Sainz down into turn 1. They're side by side. Yuki Tsunoda holds onto it briefly. It looks like there's a bit of a check up there by Yuki Tsunoda, as Sainz does come out ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. And importantly for him, he has the DRS again, because he was behind Yuki when they went side by side through turn 2. And Carlos Sainz up into P6 now and gets past Yuki Tsunoda in P7, who is still on for scoring points here in his second race in the Red Bull. No doubt will be looking in his rearview mirrors potentially quite quickly with Alex Albon, who seems to be on a bit of a charge on those hard compound tyres that are now seemingly to be coming a bit more into their own in that mid-pack. They're still considerably slower than those at the front, but you can see Oscar Piastri is just comfortably in clean air, the quickest driver right now, 37.6 last time around, whereas George Russell did a 37.7. That gap is nearly out to 7 seconds as Jack Doohan gets past Liam Lawson and dispatches him. So many more overtakes here today, guys. Not like what we saw last time around in the last couple of races. So thankfully, yes, Bahrain is providing right now 27 laps remaining. 15,000 of you in here right now as Jack Doohan could be dispatching Lance Stroll very quickly as well. He is on course 4 points today, Jack Doohan, so needs to make quick work of Lance Stroll and see if he can catch up to Max Verstappen, but Max does seem to be a bit more comfortable on those mediums as he sets the fastest lap of the race. So Max Verstappen could be coming a bit more stronger in this second stint as Lance Stroll is overtaken by Doohan into turn 13. Bold move by Jack Doohan there, the Aussie. Don't often see overtakes down into turn 13 as Lando Norris, I'm not entirely sure. Do not fear. Lando Norris had not fallen back into the clutches of Lewis Hamilton there. That was just an issue with the data, as it seems his marker is lagging slightly. So apologies for that, as Carlos Sainz is actually being re-overtaken by Yuki Tsunoda down into turn 4. They're still side by side, Yuki Tsunoda and Carlos Sainz. This is only allowing Alex Albon and Behrman and Gasly to close in behind them, and Sainz holds on to the position. Sainz has got very racy today as Alonso gets past Max Verstappen, it seems, as what has happened to Max Verstappen? What happened there with Max Verstappen? He just got back past Alonso, or did Alonso... What happened there with Max Verstappen? I'm not entirely sure, as Sainz has a lot of damage. Sainz supposedly has a lot of damage, it seems. Is that due to contact, or has he got something else entirely? Not sure, but Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso... Sorry, I think Alonso got overtaken by Antonelli, and then potentially Alonso is holding off Verstappen right now. Does Sainz have damage? Does Sainz have damage from contact with Yuki? As there is a lot of damage, there is a lot of debris on the circuit, so that is risky, you know. If drivers are forced offline, they could be picking up some, they could be getting some punctures, as we have seen here at Bahrain in the past. But it seems possible debris through turns 3 and 4. So yes, that is being reported. That there is, that's why the surface is slippery. Is that contact due to Yuki Tsunoda and Carlos Sainz? Most doubtedly it is, but Sainz looking like he's coming under attack again by Yuki Tsunoda as they head into turn 1. How much is that damage going to hamper Carlos Sainz, as Alex Albon's also looking at a move on Yuki Tsunoda? Yuki looking ahead, but also has to have one eye on his rearview mirrors as well, as Pierre Gasly gets past Ollie Behrman. He's looking for a good result today as Antonelli switches past Ocon. Verstappen gets past Alonso, and there's overtakes all over the place here as Lance Stroll could be overtaken here by Liam Lawson. There could be multiple consecutive overtakes down into turn 1 there, as yes, Lance Stroll does lose a position to Liam Lawson. No, he doesn't. It looks like they're still side by side, and I think Stroll, and there's a virtual... No, it's a safety car. Oh, we have a full safety car for debris out on the circuit, and well, this is going to put a spanner in the works to this race, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa-ho-ho-ho. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I hope you guys are enjoying right now. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. We have a safety car right now. If you are on the edge of your seat, if you've been holding a toilet break in, well, now's the time to go and do so. Oscar Piastri is diving into the pit lane. Will George Russell hold on to track position? No, he stays. He comes in as Charles Leclerc comes in. Lando Norris is coming in, so they're all sticking on fresh tyres. It seems a sensible decision to do because they are yet to make their second pit stop. So this is in effect a free pit stop for them. And they will maintain position as Lewis Hamilton dives into the pits as well. They've got a considerable gap to those behind. Who has potentially missed out here? Pierre Gasly potentially has missed out here because he is on... Oh, no, actually, Pierre Gasly might get some freebie positions here as those ahead might pit of him. Sainz, is he going to pit? Potentially, we will see. Yuki Tsunoda, is he going to pit? Who else? Yes, Sainz pits. Yuki pits. Albon stays out. Pierre Gasly... No, Albon comes in. Pierre Gasly stays out as he had only just made a pit stop. Ocon's going to promote himself up into P7, which he probably would have done anyway once the other drivers had made pit stops. I don't think anyone's getting any freebies here, as this safety car has kind of come at a decent time for a lot of drivers. Jack Doohan gets out ahead of Carlos Sainz. So because drivers had only just kind of made their second pit stop, I don't think anyone's truly lost out here. But we can see soft compound tyres going on for Yuki Tsunoda and Ollie Behrman. Antonelli, as we know, Antonelli has lost out, by the way. Antonelli's gone on to another set of soft tyres. So Antonelli's probably the biggest loser there, as he's now just made his third pit stop of this race. Fernando Alonso's out on a set of hards. Oh, we've got so many different varied strategies here today, guys. George Russell's on the softs. Charles Leclerc's on the hards. Hamilton's on the hards. Norris is on a brand new set of mediums. Piastri's on a brand new set of mediums. What is going to happen in this race? What is George Russell? Is he going to be out? Does he have to make another pit stop? Probably, potentially. Piastri, those mediums, will they make it to the end? Yes, but will they be quicker than that of the hard compound tyre of Lewis and Hamilton? Will they be able to be better on that hard compound than Max Verstappen was? Oh, this race, hunker down, guys. Stay tuned. I hope you guys are enjoying this right now. Please hit that like and subscribe button. 15,000 of you here right now. We are in for an absolute brilliant 25 laps remaining. Will probably be another couple of laps until we get the safety car come back in. But yes, Bahrain, I think, is truly providing right now, guys. Russell has to go 25 laps on softs. You feel like he has to. Yes, you feel like he has to. Is this a free stop? I don't think it is. I think McLaren are on the optimum strategy of the medium compound tyre again. As Hamilton reports, great job with the stops, guys. Great job as they double stack there. I guess the question will be is whether that medium compound tyre can last 20 laps. We have seen drivers, we've seen it kind of not necessarily fall off a cliff, but we've seen it struggle when it got to around 15, 16 laps. But of course, they're going to have less fuel on board now, so less energy being put to an extent through the tyres. But because they're going to be able to go quicker, the energy may be staying consistent with even higher fuel. As, oh wow, Yuki Tsunoda literally touched the rear tyre of Carlos Sainz. Very fortunate not to give Carlos Sainz a puncture there, and I actually don't think he caused any damage. Wow, how they actually didn't cause any damage there, Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda. That was a mistake by Tsunoda. And where's the damage come from in particular? Oh, Lance Stroll and Liam Lawson made contact as well as they went through turn 2 and also didn't have damage. These F1 cars are very robust now these days, but clearly not so robust because they've thrown a safety car for debris being removed off circuit. So, yeah. Woo. Russell is no stranger to managing damaged tyres like Bro held off Max in Monaco. Yes, but he's on softs, used softs at that. So it's a long way for him to go on softs while Leclerc and Hamilton are on hards, and Piastri is on mediums, as is Norris. So, I mean, the question right now I'm asking myself is, can Ferrari switch on those hard compound tyres? We've seen Max struggle on them. Yes, that Red Bull is a very different car to how the Ferrari is performing today. We have seen the hard compound tyre work on the Williams and see it work on the Haas today as well. Of course, they're not as quick as the Ferraris. The mediums, I think 24 laps on the soft. This is pretty audacious, is what George Russell has just stated over the radio himself. So from the horse's mouth, George Russell is stating 24 laps on the softs is tricky, ladies and gentlemen. Will he be able to hold on to a podium position, or will he potentially fall back through the grid? The next driver on the softs next driver on the softs is outside of the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda in P11. So a tall order here for George Russell. Have Mercedes potentially thrown away points here for George Russell with this strategy that was decided before the race began? Charles Leclerc in P3, Lando Norris is in P4, Lewis Hamilton is up 4 positions into P5 at the moment. Gasly is in P6, best of the rest. Esteban Ocon is up 7 positions into P7. Ocon, who crashed yesterday, safety car is in this lap, who crashed yesterday in P7. Max Verstappen, who is now on a more comfortable medium compound tyre in P8. His race may have potentially just been saved for him, as it was not looking too good earlier on. Jack Doohan up 2 positions, potentially on course for scoring his first points ever in F1 in P9. Carlos Sainz, who does have damage, in P10. Lando Norris Russell was already worried about the soft for the leg of this stint, is what Lando Norris is being relayed to him. As Norris is stating, I don't think he should be. The soft was mega. I think it is a good tyre. Why are you saying that, Lando? That's a very bizarre message from Lando Norris right there. But we will see. Carlos Sainz in P10, Yuki Tsunoda in P11, Behrman up 8 positions, who started dead last. Behrman in P12, he could still score points here today after starting dead last. Albon in P13, Antonelli in P14, he's down 9 positions today, as not entirely sure what is going on there with George Russell. Why is it stating George Russell's falling through the pack? That's clearly incorrect right there. Do not fear with the timing screen, a timing tower. As Alonso is in P15, Hadjar P16 down 4 positions, Hulkenberg is 17th, Lawson is 18th, Stroll is 19th, and Bortoletto is 20th. But look at the tyre compounds on use here, guys, in this last stint, this potential last stint. As Oscar Piastri backs up the field. If you are liking this stream, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. We still have 23 laps of racing remaining here at the Bahrain circuit. Anything can happen with these strategies that are on offer here today. It's already provided a great race. Oscar Piastri needs to ensure he did what he did at the start of this race and lead down into turn 1. George Russell will be on that pacey, soft compound tyre at the start here. But how long will it last for? We will see as we go racing again at Bahrain. Oscar Piastri leads them across the start-finish line, and Charles Leclerc is already under attack by Lando Norris. Lando Norris has had a great start there, but Hamilton is also in the slipstream of both of Leclerc and Norris. Could he potentially go for a double overtake here down into turn 1? There's a slight delay on the track map. I cannot see what happened at the start of this race as Leclerc defends. He goes deep into turn 1, and I think Lewis Hamilton has got past Lando Norris. Oh, there's changes of position there as Lando Norris is coming back at Lewis Hamilton, who just gained a position on him down into turn 4, and Lando regains it from Lewis Hamilton, but they're still side by side, as I think Lando might have gone for a double overtake there on Hamilton and Charles Leclerc as they're side by side through turn 4 and turn 7, and Lando Norris, oh my goodness, loses a position to Charles Leclerc down into turn 1. He lost it from Lewis Hamilton, but then regains it on Hamilton, and then went for an audacious overtake on Charles Leclerc through turn 5 and turn 6. What a restart here. Great restart by Oscar Piastri as he leads from George Russell. Charles Leclerc now being chased down by Lando Norris. Hamilton wasn't able to keep back Lando Norris there as he's on the harder compound tyre, as there's sparks flying as they head down the start-finish straight on this restart, as Norris is all over the back of Charles Leclerc. As I'm just watching the replay of this overtake here and this battle from Lando Norris on Lewis Hamilton as he went round the outside. Oh my goodness, the absolute grip Lando Norris had around Lewis Hamilton and on Charles Leclerc was audacious there, as George Russell, not entirely sure what's happening with his sensor as he is indicating that he's dropping him down, but he isn't, as DRS is now activated. Mal Intent, thank you for becoming a chief strategist and joining the pit crew. Much appreciated here. Over 16,000 of you here in the stream right now for this brilliant Bahrain Grand Prix. It is very eventful here, and we're in for a brainstormer of a closing 20 laps here at the Bahrain Grand Prix, with so many drivers in this last stint on different tyres and varied strategies. As I'm watching the replay, as Charles Leclerc covered off Lando Norris down into turn 1, and that just left Lewis Hamilton wide open to drive around the outside of Lando, but Lando, with that grippier medium compound tyre, drove past him as Lewis Hamilton's got back past Lando Norris. Apologies there for missing it as I was watching the replay, as Lewis Hamilton has got past Lando Norris on the hard compound tyre and is up into P4. Lando Norris struggling here on that medium compound tyre, which I did think would be the better tyre here, but maybe it isn't. Maybe here in the closing stages, the Ferrari on this hard compound tyre are going to be able to switch this on and potentially be on for a double podium and potentially the race win. We will see. But will Hamilton be able to hold off Lando Norris and close down his teammate? We will see, as Pierre Gasly is chomping at a bit here and just patiently waiting to see what these two drivers do ahead of him as he's pulling away from Esteban Ocon, who is holding off Max Verstappen on the medium compound tyre. I'm intrigued to see whether this hard compound tyre comes alive here. It seems like it has done at the start of this race. There were concerns about the tyre warm-up of this hard compound tyre. It could take a few laps for it to become into a good operating window, and it seems Ferrari have had no issue there, as Oscar Piastri, with 20 laps remaining, leads from George Russell on the soft who's on the soft compound tyre. Please ignore what's happening on the driver's on this timing screen right now. George Russell is not falling down through the pack. He is on the back of Oscar Piastri, and once it sorts itself out, George Russell will be in P2. Only a second or so behind Oscar Piastri. He is outside of the DRS though, as Lewis Hamilton comes under attack again from Lando Norris, who has DRS, and well, Lando Norris dispatches Lewis Hamilton before they even get into turn 4, as does Verstappen on Esteban Ocon as well. As I'm not entirely sure what's happening with Russell's transponder. By the looks of it, it's showing that he's dead last right now, and that is not the case. George Russell is indeed in P2 with Charles Leclerc in with Charles Leclerc in P3, Lando Norris P4, Hamilton is in P5 as he has just lost that position to Lando Norris. But how long will that medium compound tyre last for on the McLaren? Pierre Gasly is in P6. He will be chased down by Verstappen, who cleared the Haas of Esteban Ocon, who is up a tremendous amount of positions today. Jack Doohan being chased by Tsunoda, as Behrman could be going for a move on Yuki down into turn 11, but Yuki has DRS on Doohan, but Behrman feels confident here today. He started dead last. He smells points here today. While it is indicating that he is in P10, he is not. George Russell is still out there. There is an issue with his data point, his transponder. You can slightly see the marker there as he heads through turn 14. George Russell is still out on track, so just promote each one of these drivers behind there we go. George Russell appears back, and everyone moves down a position as George Russell, yes, is reinstated back into P2. It looks like he's now going back down the grid, so just ignore that. Apologies, that is out of my control and is from the F1 live data itself. But Lando Norris what's happening with the track map right here? It seems to be every time they go through turn 1, there's a slight delay with the data, but is delayed, of course, with them in close proximity. Sometimes the data, there is a lag that comes from F1. As Behrman is under attack from Albon. It's very tight there for the last point scoring position, as Doohan is looking to score his first points of this race as well, as he's currently in P9. If you just demote everyone down a position from Oscar Piastri, that is where they are, as George Russell is still showing out on the track map, as Albon does, as Antonelli is up into P11 and gets past Alex Albon, as he was having a sniff at Alex Albon was having a sniff at Ollie Behrman. Antonelli snuck through on the soft compound tyre. But of course, these drivers on the softs have to also look after their tyres and try and take it to the very end, as there are multiple track limits violations coming through right now. Lots of drivers picking them up as Ollie Behrman did go side by side with Yuki Tsunoda down into turn 1 not too long ago. And so Ollie Behrman getting very feisty here. He started dead last, and what a result this would be for Haas if they could have both cars in the points. Behrman just a solitary position back from Yuki Tsunoda, which is the last position of scoring points. But it is, as they cross the line, Oscar Piastri leads from George Russell with Charles Leclerc in P3. The top 7, the top 9, top 10 do not have DRS on one another. Actually, Yuki Tsunoda is the only driver who has DRS on who's the only driver who has DRS at the moment in the top 10 on Jack Doohan. And well, is he going to come under attack again from Ollie Behrman? No, it seems they're all as they were as they head down into turn 1, as Carlos Sainz, with that damage, does seem to be falling back for the pack and is under attack and at risk of being overtaken by Nico Hülkenberg. So Sainz's race, which was looking to go so well, he qualified in Q3, he started well, but with that damage, with that battle with Yuki Tsunoda that brought out the safety car, he is about to be overtaken, and his performance is being hampered. Oh no, he holds off Hülkenberg just a bit longer. Sainz valiantly fighting here, as Hamilton reports he has understeer. Understood is reported by Ferrari at this current moment in time. But yes, Leclerc is losing time to... Sorry, not Leclerc. George Russell is losing time to Oscar Piastri right now. Charles Leclerc, you can see that consistent gap to George Russell as it was kind of really before the safety car came out, and you're starting to see consistent gaps be formed here. And well, this is going to be interesting, because how long can George Russell make those soft compound tyres last? We have 18 laps remaining. How long will that medium compound tyre last? And will the hard compound runners of the Ferraris of Leclerc and Hamilton, will that come back towards them? Will those three in front of them come back towards them, and they potentially have a double podium here? We will see. Carlos does have major damage. He is struggling now. Of course he is. I mean, he's under attack. Sainz is clearly struggling because he's under attack from Nico Hülkenberg. With respect to Nico Hülkenberg, he should not be attacking Carlos Sainz here as easily as he is. But Sainz is still holding him off, but I don't suspect for that much longer. It's just watching Kimi Antonelli on the set of soft compound tyres get past Alex Albon earlier as he went side by side through Albon in the middle sector. George Russell's data point still hasn't sorted itself out, only briefly reinstates him back into P2 before demoting him back down to last again. But you can see there on the track map, he is still comfortably behind Oscar Piastri, as actually Sainz gets overtaken, Sainz, while he's holding off Nico Hulkenberg gets pipped by Liam Lawson there into P14. So Liam Lawson taking advantage of Nico Hulkenberg trying to overtake Carlos Sainz, and Lawson is now up into P14, a couple of positions ahead of his teammate, who no doubt will also be looking to overtake Nico Hulkenberg. Doesn't look like they're going to score points this weekend here, the RB team. Which is a real shame for them, but they will head to Saudi Arabia next week, hoping that they can get back into the top 10 as they have done in the first few race weekends thus far. But we have 17 laps remaining. Yes, Oscar Piastri still maintaining that lead on the mediums. George Russell still not falling back from Piastri, as you can see from the gap there. Well, actually, no, sorry, I do feel like that gap has widened just a bit on the track map. We don't have the actual data right now from George Russell to indicate how far back behind he is. Actually, I do think George Russell's data is correct. The gap, no, the interval isn't correct right now. So George Russell, we could see that gap maintaining there. So it's 1.9 seconds last time around. It was a 36.3. So actually, George Russell and Piastri are lapping the same amount of time. So that gap is consistent right now. You can see there Lando Norris is the only driver who's actually quicker than the two ahead. Charles Leclerc on the hard compound tyre, 36.4 for him, or 36.5. We can see that Lewis Hamilton has just fallen back a bit from Lando Norris, struggling a bit more on that hard compound tyre than his teammate with a 36.8. He's lapping the same time as Gasly and as Max Verstappen, who's just slightly further back with a 36.9. No attack right now, as Hamilton is reporting the car won't turn. So Hamilton struggling with that harder compound tyre compared to his teammate right now, it seems. But nearly 17,000 of you in here right now, guys. Big thank you to everyone tuning in as we are heading into the closing stages of this race. Stay tuned, as Sainz and Antonelli noted forcing another driver off the track. That was quite some time ago that occurred, I believe. But Jack Doohan under attack by Yuki Tsunoda, still not able to close up that gap. Tsunoda, who's trying to take a soft compound tyre to the end. This is tremendous, though, to see all these drivers, unlike the previous couple of races where we have drivers on the same compound tyre, we have drivers on multiple compounds of tyre here. On every single type of compound of tyre, there are multiple drivers on them. This is brilliant right now. This is brilliant. With 16 laps remaining, anything could still happen, guys. But yes, if you are liking this stream, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Over 17,000, well, over 16,500 of you in here right now. Surely there's multiple people in here right now who are yet to hit that subscribe button and get us to over 40,000 subs, as you can see at the top of your screen. Be much appreciated. We'll be back, of course, for every single session for the remainder of this season, and we head to Saudi Arabia next time around to round off what has been what will be a triple header, the first triple header of the season. But at the moment, we still have multiple laps remaining in this Bahrain Grand Prix. Lawson does now overtake Carlos Sainz, who has that heavy damage from contact with Yuki Tsunoda earlier on, but did bring out the safety car, as Charles Leclerc is now being closed down upon by Lando Norris. You can see there Lando Norris considerably closer to Charles Leclerc with 15 laps remaining. Lando Norris 1.1 seconds back from Charles Leclerc, who's on that hard compound tyre. And there was a 2/10 advantage last lap around for Lando on Charles. But will that medium compound tyre will it last that long? As it did seem like George Russell got quite close to Piastri as lots of incidents being. I'll tell you what, the stewards are very slow today here at Bahrain. They're investigating incidents that happened a good handful of laps ago. I'm really surprised that they are now only just investigating the contact between Tsunoda and Sainz down into turn 1. That happened before the safety car came out, so the stewards seem to be a little bit asleep here today. Multiple incidents have been taken a number of laps later for them to even announce they're being investigated. But Lando Norris, is he going to be in DRS out of turn 14? Is he going to use just a bit more of that medium compound tyre as he heads down the start-finish straight? And, it does look like he is. The timing data is a little bit off at the moment. It's a little bit skew-if, as you no doubt would have noticed. But Lando Norris, what isn't skew-if is that he is most definitely within the DRS of Charles Leclerc, as Sainz is awarded a 10-second time penalty. His day's just gone from bad to worse. Not only does he have considerable damage and he's down 7 positions in P15, but but he now has a 10-second time penalty. Sorry, P16 as he gets overtaken by Nico Hulkenberg and potentially Isaac Hadjar. And well, it wouldn't surprise me if this is maybe an eventual retirement for Sainz, where his race was looking pretty positive earlier on, and it just completely flipped on its head when it came to that battle with Yuki Tsunoda, which is a real shame for the Spaniard. But Charles Leclerc is under pressure now from Lando Norris for this last podium position. Lando Norris, who gained 3 positions at the start of this race from, well, potentially an advantageous false start, as he was slightly outside of his starting grid position, and well, he got a 5-second time penalty for it, but he nullified it with the undercut, and looks like he could be damage limitation here by finishing in on the podium at a bare minimum. And maybe could he attack George Russell with that soft compound tyre that George no doubt is having to nurse right now to the end of this race. 2.5 seconds that gap is now to Oscar Piastri. Last time around, half a second advantage Piastri made on George Russell, and I think that gap to Charles Leclerc is also not that much decrease. A 10th improvement on Leclerc on George Russell last time around. Antonelli does now have 6 track limits violations, so surely for Antonelli, unfortunately for him, that will be a 5-second time penalty attributed to him. So Antonelli, 6 track limits violations here at Bahrain as Lando Norris closes down the gap to Charles Leclerc down into turn 1. He's 6 tenths back. How about that grip on that medium compound tyre of Lando Norris out of turn 2? Charles Leclerc doesn't have the DRS of George Russell. He still might be benefiting from a Todo from George Russell ahead, who is starting to fall off the back of the McLaren of Piastri. And yes, it's not enough Lando Norris to get past him, as Carlos Sainz is indeed pitting. He has a 10-second time penalty for forcing a driver off the track. He has severe damage, and I do suspect this will be a sole retirement at the Bahrain Grand Prix today. That's a shame. That's a shame for him. Kimi Antonelli, it's not iRacing. So Oscar Piastri leads as George Russell's car states he is actually stopped. Has George Russell stopped? Or is that just a data issue? The timing screen states he is still behind Oscar Piastri, but now his marker has stopped. I am not entirely sure what's happened. If George Russell was stopped out on circuit, and no doubt would 100% be a yellow flag right now. So George Russell, I do think he's still out there. I do still think he's racing. As it is being reported by the Mercedes garage, we have an issue affecting DRS. It's a timing issue only. I can give you a default to override it. So it's something within the car that is stopping George. It is why we have these timing issues on the screen right now. Mercedes engineers have just reported that to us. So George Russell is still out there racing, but this time around, the marker on track is George Russell. George Russell is still racing. If you want to see where George Russell is, keep an eye out on the timing screens. You can see there that he is 3.8 seconds back from Oscar Piastri, as Charles Leclerc has been overtaken by Lando Norris. But no, he retains the position. He does the cut back on Lando Norris down into turn 2, and Lando unable to overtake Charles Leclerc into turn 4. Down into turn 1 there, and make utilisation of the double DRS as Charles Leclerc holds off Lando Norris for another lap. There's 12 laps remaining here, and Charles Leclerc is under threat on that hard compound tyre. George Russell is still going, but he is falling back from... George Russell is falling back from Oscar Piastri from the interval time. If you want to know where Charles Leclerc is in relation to George Russell, well, you need to just look at the interval time. He is 1.1 seconds back. That is still updating itself, and I can confirm through TV figures that he is still indeed out on track. As it wasn't the cutback. It was Charles Leclerc was a textbook defense against Lando Norris. Lando Norris ended up locking up, and that actually could have hurt Lando Norris quite hard. So it wasn't a cutback from Charles Leclerc there, but it was an easy defense for him. Lando Norris, yes, chasing down Leclerc for that last podium position, as Hamilton is in P5, falling back. As Sainz is being told, says they should investigate Yuki because what he did to me was just stupid exit of turn 1. Well, he was investigated, Sainz, and he wasn't given a penalty for it. No further investigation for that front wing to rear wheel contact. Very fortunate to get away with a puncture there, Sainz, but he has retired from this race, as you can see there in the pit lane. Hasn't come through yet on the timing data, but he is no doubt out of this race. No further reason for him to get out there with a 10-second time penalty. As it looks like there's as Jack Doohan is falling down the grid here as well, down into P12. What happened to Jack Doohan as Behrman is up into P10? Behrman up 10 positions into P10. Kimi Antonelli, it still hasn't really been noted that Antonelli has a time penalty. Are the stewards okay here? The stewards are so slow that Antonelli has 6 track limits violations and still doesn't have a time penalty for track limits. This is quite bizarre here today by the stewards. They seem to be definitely sleeping at the wheel, it seems. But yes, Piastri leads from George Russell, Has George Russell just completely disappeared from the track map? He has indeed. George Russell has disappeared from the track map right now, but George Russell is still out on track, ladies and gentlemen. So do not fear if you are a Mercedes and a George Russell fan. The timing data is still correct. He is around 4.3 seconds back from Oscar Piastri, and you can see that Charles Leclerc there is 1.6 seconds back from George Russell as well, as Lando Norris is 1.2 seconds back from Leclerc, but he definitely seems to be a lot closer than that, and it seems the timing data is having a bit on the fritz at the moment, being sent from Bahrain, but we can see out on track that Charles Leclerc is under attack here by Lando Norris, who will have DRS. It seems that Lando is a bit closer than he has been previously, as George Russell is still not out there on track as there you can see Lando Norris DRS open as they head down into turn 1. Will Lando go for the move again? If he's smart, he should wait for the double DRS for that opportunity down into turn 4, get the traction on that medium compound tyre that he has, the grippier tyre on Charles Leclerc, and he's got the DRS open. He's a bit closer than he has been for some time, but I don't think he's got enough, as Charles Leclerc no doubt can go defensive, as there's a black and white flag for Jack Doohan track limits as well, for 3 track limits violations. So they've given Jack Doohan a black and white flag, but Antonelli hasn't been given penalties for track limits violations, which is quite bizarre. So Leclerc holds off Norris for just a bit longer. George Russell still doing a decent job here, as Lando really closes in under braking into turn 8, but potentially outbrakes himself as that interval time went out by about 3 tenths. Lando trying to get past the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. How long can he sustain this attack for? We know that these tyres will be hurting as he's in the dirty air of Charles Leclerc. DRS open as they head into turn 11, but he's not going to have a move here. Tsunoda is in P9 right now. He's on course to score his first points in the Red Bull car, and Max Verstappen is only a solitary position ahead of him, up in P7. Esteban Ocon is just in place, just ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, of him to overtake, with Behrman also looking like he is going to be able to score points here today. Ollie Behrman is on course to score points here today after starting dead last, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. What a poor performance it was for both Haas drivers. Of course, Ocon sticking it in the barrier, as Norris is a lot closer to Leclerc now. Here we go. This is Norris's opportunity with 9 laps remaining. He's side by side with Leclerc. No, he just backs out of it. He holds position. He's thinking about the overtake down into turn 4. He's just a little bit back from Charles Leclerc. He'll have DRS as he heads down into turn 4. But will he have the grip on Charles Leclerc, who's on the longer lasting hard compound tyre? I think Lando's going for it. He has to go for it. They're side by side. Is he able to make it stick? They're slowing up there, and no! Charles Leclerc holds on to that position there from Lando Norris for another lap. And Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, 2 of the highest prospect drivers on the grid. As Lando, is he going to go for a move on Charles here with that extra grip? How much did that potentially hurt Charles's tyres? Maybe going offline there on the harder compound tyre. But yes, Charles is hurting here with Lando Norris all over his rear wing. This is allowing Lewis Hamilton to close up slightly, but Lewis is still off the pace of these 2 drivers, even when they're fighting, as Gasly is holding off Max Verstappen as well, quite comfortably, although Max is nearly within DRS of Gasly. Just a bit of a poor lap last time around for Gasly on that hard compound tyre. But Charles Leclerc is in full defence mode right now. This is what we want to see. This is what we have not had in the first 3 races of this season, is side-by-side action, attack versus defence. This is brilliant, guys. I hope you're enjoying it, as we're over 18,000 viewers right now. Hit that like and subscribe button if you can, as we go again. Round 3, round 4. I've lost count of Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, as Charles Leclerc will go defensive again. He has to. He's going to fight Lando Norris off. Will Lando go for the move into turn 1, or will he be patient? Will he wait for that move again down into turn 4? He's not close enough to go for the overtake into turn 1. He's being patient, but he's not as close as he was last time around. And I think Lando might have to try and force Leclerc out of position into turn 1, unless Leclerc seriously has a lack of traction out of turn 3, because he clearly has Lando covered at the moment. if Lando is not able to force him out of position into turn 1, because we've seen that 2 times in a row now where Lando has not been able to get that run up into turn 4 on the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc doing a tremendous job right now, arguably holding off a faster McLaren on younger tyres, as it looks like that potentially Lando was forced out of room on that overtake where they went side by side last lap around. We will see if that is investigated by the stewards, but no doubt with how slow they have been today, it will be investigated once the race ends, as we have 7 laps remaining once Oscar Piastri crosses the start-finish line. They've been so slow to say today, the stewards. Honestly, they've been so slow. But guys, yes, into turn 1 incident, Lawson and Hulkenberg, that was ages ago. Lap causing a collision, noted. No, actually, what I said, it was ages ago, but it's been investigated now for some reason. But right, here we go. Let's go. Round 6, round 7. Ding, ding, ding. Black Max, Charles Leclerc on Lando Norris. As George Russell is told, there's a chance we may lose the dash. So issues in the Russell car at the moment. He is still indicating that he is in P2, but Lando Norris goes again. Is he going to go for a late lunge on Charles Leclerc into turn 1? Has he learned his lesson? It doesn't seem like it, as he's even further back from Charles Leclerc this time around. And well, his tyres are losing grip the longer he stays behind Charles Leclerc, and he's most definitely not going to have an opportunity on Charles down into turn 4. And Lando, has he missed his opportunity at an overtake on Charles Leclerc there, as Lawson dispatches Jack Doohan, who's unfortunately seems to be struggling on that hard compound tyre, or maybe has an issue with the car because he has lost a considerable amount of positions. Jack Doohan, it seems right now, as Norris pressures Charles Leclerc into turn 8. That McLaren that has more downforce here this weekend, slowest in the start-finish straight here through the speed traps we saw yesterday in particular with Oscar Piastri, yet he still put it on pole position. As Lando, he's using a bit more grip here, it seems, through turn 10, but not going to have enough potentially through turn 11 with that shorter run. Even though this DRS open, you need a pretty good exit out of turn 10 to be able to have an overtake opportunity on through a driver through turn 11. Esteban Ocon doing a tremendous job of holding off Yuki Tsunoda right now, who is on the soft compound tyre. It's a quicker tyre, but he also needs to be careful about bringing this to the end, as does Ollie Behrman as well. Antonelli, who looks like he's going to get away with any track limits violation penalty, it seems, at the moment in P11, trying to score a point, as Ollie Behrman is staying in that train at the moment. It's suited him very well. A double point scoring race for Haas again here this weekend will be amazing, considering where they qualified. But here we go. Lando Norris, I've lost track of the amount of times he's tried to attempt to overtake on Charles Leclerc. Is he going to go for it down into turn 1? He's more aggressive this time around. He's gone for it. Who comes out on top? There's side by side. So Lando, he's right on the rear wing of Charles Leclerc. He's got DRS open, but will he have enough to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc? Charles Leclerc potentially forced him off last time out, but it looks like Lando has got the move done before they even head into turn 4. But no, Charles Leclerc comes back at him briefly, but Lando holds on to it, but Charles Leclerc is still there on that hard compound tyre. And finally, with 6 laps remaining, Lando Norris dispatches Charles Leclerc on the where he's on the medium compound tyre, and Charles Leclerc is on the hard compound. And well, while it hasn't quite registered on the timing data on the timing tower that he is up into P3, he is indeed up into P3, as George Russell is reporting gears are fucked. What's going on? Excuse my language, but I'm just repeating, as George Russell has a DRS infringement noted. Could this be a shocker of an end to the race here for George Russell? He has done tremendously well. He is not shown on the track map for some time. There are issues, electronic issues happening within There are electronic issues happening within the car of George Russell right now. Trust me, it is not myself who's having issues with the timing data. I have the TV screen here right next to me. It is F1 in general who are having a little bit of an issue with their data, and I think the majority of it is caused by George Russell right now, because George Russell is shown as P2, but he's got issues. He's not showing out on track. He could potentially lose the dash. He's been noted for a DRS infringement, and well, George Russell could be disqualified here at the end of this race, as yes, George Russell will be investigated after the race, so he could be investigated and disqualified at the end, as Gasly is under pressure from Max Verstappen down into turn 1. Will he be able to overtake him? No. So Verstappen will have DRS again though, as he heads down into turn 4, and Max Verstappen, who's struggled here this weekend, could potentially end this weekend with still a P6, which would be a tremendous result for Max struggling in this car, as Lando Norris is noted for track limits at turn 4, lap 49, as he also gets a black and white flag. Lando Norris, he needs to be careful and keep it within track limits as we approach the end of this race with 5 laps remaining. It will be 4 laps when Piastri crosses the start-finish line, guys. Let's have a rundown of the grid as it currently stands, as Max is on the attack of Pierre Gasly. Oscar Piastri is leading by 9 seconds to George Russell, who is not appearing on your track map right now. He has issues with the electronics. He has issues with the data being transferred back to the garage, and he's being investigated for a DRS infringement after the race. It could go completely wrong here for George Russell, who has done very well here this weekend. Lando Norris finally dispatched Charles Leclerc as in P3 after starting in P6. He's already had a 5-second time penalty for that, starting outside of his pit box at the start of this race. Charles Leclerc in P4, Hamilton in P5 on the hard compound tyre. It just hasn't been the tyre of choice at the end of this race. Valiant effort by the Ferrari drivers nonetheless, as Gasly is in P6 holding off Max Verstappen, but how much longer we will see. Gasly on the hards, Verstappen on the mediums. Ocon is in P8 up 6 places and has been holding off Yuki Tsunoda and that train of Behrman, Antonelli and Albon for quite some time now. As Verstappen, is he going to go for it down into turn 1? He's having issues with his brakes. He's been complaining about his brakes all weekend. He changed his brakes for the start of this race, and well, is he going to have enough on that Alpine and get past him and have the confidence in that car to get around him down into turn 4? Doesn't seem like it. No, as Gasly, the former Red Bull teammates, he's holding him off just for now. As yes, Ocon up 6 positions. Yuki is on course to scoring his first points in a Red Bull car in P9. Behrman, who started dead last today, is up into P10. He made 5 positions up at the start of this race in lap 1. A tremendous start by Ollie Behrman and a tremendous race thus far after a poor qualifying from both drivers yesterday. Antonelli is in P6, down 6 places, but it does look like he will finish further down with, I would presume, track limits violation penalties coming his way, which have yet to be announced, as he has 6 in total, the 3 more than everyone else. Albon is in P12, Lawson in 13th, Doohan 14th, Hulkenberg 15th, Hadjar 16th, Alonso 17th, Stroll is 18th, and Bortoletto is 19th right now. But as it currently stands, Max Verstappen and Gasly are the closest out on track. As Charles Leclerc is told, he will be investigated after the race. So they're pushing for Charles Leclerc to close the gap as it currently stands. But with 3 laps remaining, this lap and 2 more remaining, it is Piastri who is leading this race. He has led it tremendously from the start. He did what he needed to do. He got into turn 1. He led from the outset. He managed a safety car restart perfectly, and he has never looked back. But it's the finishing positions behind him that are still up for grabs. Stay tuned for after this race ends, guys, as we will be keeping an eye out on whether or not George Russell could potentially be disqualified and take in everything that has happened in this race, as there is a considerable amount that we need to discuss, and I will be discussing on the Missed Apex podcast later on this evening as well. Head over to the YouTube channel and listen to them on Spotify and other podcasting platforms as well. But Lance Stroll under attack by Bortoletto for the last position on the grid. I think Lance Stroll was already given up on this year, as Fernando Alonso is also in 17th. What has happened to those Aston Martins? But Verstappen still coming unstuck behind Pierre Gasly at the moment. Lando Norris supposedly, according to the timing screens, is in the DRS of George Russell. That is indeed what I am seeing on the TV screens as well. He is in the DRS of George Russell, who is being investigated after the race as we approach the penultimate lap now, as Oscar Piastri crosses the start-finish line. And, well, Norris could, with 1 more track limits violation, otherwise he will receive a 5-second time penalty, could finish in P2 after starting P6, and that would be pure damage limitation, maximum damage limitation for Lando Norris here this weekend, after it looked so poor after qualifying yesterday, qualifying P6. As Lando Norris is being told, we can only use DRS when we're 100% sure we are within it. So there are genuine DRS issues being reported up and down the grid right now. This is unprecedented here at the Bahrain Grand Prix, and that's potentially why George Russell is having issues and why the timing screens are all over the place right now. There are electronic and data issues that are being reported at the Bahrain circuit. I mean, we saw a power cut there in testing, didn't we? And maybe that is a long-lasting effect from what we saw only a couple of months ago in testing, as Verstappen is still not able to overtake the Alpine driver on the penultimate lap of this race. But the question is, will Norris be able to get past George Russell? I'm not so sure. George Russell on that soft compound tyre has done brilliantly, and it would be very unfair if he is unable to score points here today and is disqualified from the race, or if he's given penalties at all for something that is outside of his control. As Verstappen has also got a black and white flag at the moment as well for track limits at turn 4. Lots of drivers on black and white flags for track limits here, most notably at turn 4. There are 4 drivers that could potentially receive 5-second time penalties with 1 lap remaining. We're on the final lap of this race. Oscar Piastri, P1, he has led from start to finish. He has managed this race perfectly. He has done what he has needed to do, and he will close that championship lead of Lando Norris and potentially get past Max Verstappen. We'll have a look at the permutations of the championship standings at the end of this race to see where Piastri moves up to and that gap to Lando Norris. But Lando Norris is chasing down George Russell. He has one more opportunity here, and I don't think he's going to get it unless there's a conscious mistake by George Russell. He is being told to be wary that he is in the DRS, 100% in that DRS zone before he opens that button, presses that button and opens the rear wing, as there are issues here. But further down the grid, let's have a look at the point scoring. As Max Verstappen is actually closest to Gasly as he has been in some time. He's going to have DRS again down into turn 4. Will he be able to overtake the Frenchman, his former teammate, down into turn 4? He needs to be careful at track limits, and I think Max has finally, on the last lap, got it done, and he's up into P6. Max Verstappen, as Gasly will not be able to come back at him on the hard compound tyre, and Verstappen will finish P6, and that is also massive damage limitation for Verstappen, who was dead last in this race at one point after making a pit stop off of the hard compound tyre that was tragic to his chances this race, as Lando Norris did actually go side by side with George Russell down into turn 1. But it's Oscar Piastri around the last corner. He has done brilliantly here this weekend, and Oscar Piastri wins his 2nd race of this 2025 season in P1. He closes that championship lead of Lando Norris, as I'm still not sure who is going to come out on top here across the start-finish line. I believe George Russell, who is not showing on the track map right now, is going to come across the line in P2. He is being investigated after the race for a DRS infringement. Lando Norris in P3. We'll see if that is his final position. A good race for Lando Norris after starting P6. Leclerc in P4, Hamilton P5, Verstappen in P6, with Gasly close behind. Gasly best of the rest in P7. A great race for the Alpine driver here this weekend, as Esteban Ocon holds off Yuki Tsunoda and finishes 6 places higher than where he started in P8. Yuki Tsunoda scores his first points in the Red Bull car in P9. Bearman, who started dead last, finishes in P10 and scores a point. Unbelievable from the rookie in the Haas there. Kimi Antonelli in P11, but I think he will finish even further down the standings once he gets all those track limits violation penalties issued to him. Alex Albon in P12, Jack Doohan in P13. Not sure what happened to him. He clearly fell off a cliff on those hard compound tyres. He looked like he was going to be scoring points, his first points in that Alpine today, but just fell off in that last stint. Nico Hulkenberg up into 14th, Hadjar down into 15th, Alonso into 16th. Not sure what happened with Liam Lawson there at the end. He lost multiple positions, maybe track limits violation penalty into 17th, Stroll in 18th, Bortoletto 19th, and Carlos Sainz was in P20. And there we go, guys. There we go. Big thank you for everyone tuning into this stream. We hit, I think, nearly 20,000 viewers. Unbelievable here today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If it's your first experience here, please hit that subscribe button. We'll be back next week for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix for every session. And, well, who knows what we're going to have in store at Saudi Arabia, because I tell you what, I had low expectations for this race because of what we'd experienced in the first 4 free race weekends and the first 4 races of the year, but I think Bahrain provided. I think it did. Yes, Piastri drove off into the distance, as we kind of expect McLaren to do. Without Lando up there, Piastri was never truly going to have a fight. But I think behind him, with the varying strategies we saw here today, this is why we need tyres that are a little bit softer. This is why we need tyres that degrade, because it provides great racing. So a big thank you to everyone. Hey, we over 40,000 subs. Hey, thank you, everyone. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will stick around, do our driver of the day. Should we do driver of the day? Let's have a look at driver of the day, shall we? Let's have driver of the day. Driver of the day. Driver of the day. Apparently, Lewis Hamilton has won driver of the day. Really? Okay. Not entirely sure I agree with that, as Lewis Hamilton with driver of the day. Shall we go Norris? Shall we go Ocon? And who else? I feel like that's it, really. I'll put Piastri. I'll put Piastri because he won and he managed to race well. Let me know what you think in the poll, guys. Wow. Thank you for the subs, guys. Thank you for the subs. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know the chat's going very quickly right now. We are still yet to see what the official, as Doohan got track limits there at the end. The stewards have been very, very slow in their investigations today. So we'll try and stay live as long as we can before we find out what the final positions are. There was clearly a data issue out there on circuit that normally I think it's my end. It's not. It was F1's end. George Russell, he was being reported by his engineer that there's an issue with his timings and that he could lose his dash. There was an issue with the DRS opening too early as well, apparently out on circuit, which Lando Norris was informed about to ensure they weren't going to be investigated. So I don't know. I don't know what is happening out there. I mean, the fact of it, George Russell was able to see that soft tyre to the end of the race and hold off Lando is testament to George. A real testament to George. So, yeah. Investigating means disqualification, always does. But the thing is, I think the DRS, it will depend on who is to blame for it. If it's F1's fault and the DRS is open too early, then it's their fault. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're able to open the DRS before. Anyway, that's not how it's supposed to be. Commentary has been fantastic. Should call Murray Walker. Thank you, guys. Yeah, anyone who's new here, I hope you've enjoyed this stream and this commentary. Look, hopefully it's more exciting than what you get on TV, and I try to do so. Of course, I'm a bit of a steam train. I don't really get an opportunity to have a look at the chat while it's going on, so I do apologise if your messages aren't read during the stream. But that's why during the race. But that's why we stick around afterwards. We go live an hour early so that we can take everything in. So that also I can take a breather and gather my breath, and we can see what everything has happened. So. Best commentary, straight up facts. Don't know how you're not more recognised. Thank you, man. Well, we are getting recognised, and that's why we hit ridiculous figures today. We've hit over 1,000 subs today, 40,000 subs. Trust me, you guys make my weekend. You guys make my weekend, and I hope I make yours as well, and I hope you look forward to it. We'll be live. The practice sessions, of course, are a bit more chill. It's an opportunity for us to have a bit more of a back and forth. And then, of course, qualifying and Saturday, the race on Sunday, exactly like you've just seen. So, big thank you, everyone. 18.5k was the highest you saw. Just if you're interested in figures, 19,454 was the peak viewership we had today. So, yes. Very, very good. Thank you, guys. Sometimes I refuse to look at the figures and just do what I'm doing. But yeah. But next weekend, don't have long to wait, guys. We've got next weekend, Saudi Arabia, to round off this triple header. Oscar Piastri wins here. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Yes, let's have a look at what that has done to the championship standings. Oh, it's close at the top. It's close at the top, guys. So Max drops down into P3. Lando Norris is leading by 3 points right now. 3 points when it comes to the Drivers' Championship by gaining 15 points there. He could still gain more if George Russell is disqualified from this race or is given a time penalty for the DRS usage that he's being investigated for. Verstappen loses a position there because he only finished in 6th, but still, for Max to finish in 6th, it looked like he was going to struggle to score points when he was on that hard compound tyre. So yes, they called it quits at the right time, Red Bull, to get him back onto the medium, and with the safety car, it helped him as well. So, Gamer, yeah, it wasn't you, it was George Russell in general. George Russell's George Russell's data, he was having issues within the car. And that was reflecting to the data, and then the data was also skewiff as well. Apparently there were issues with the DRS that everyone was experiencing. So yeah, it wasn't just you, it was F1 data in general. Yeah. Thank gosh Yuki survived the car. Yes. But let's have a rundown of these championship standings at the moment. So Lando Norris is P1 still by 3 points from Oscar Piastri as he moves up into P2, pushing Max Verstappen down into 3rd. George Russell remains where he is. George Russell is in this championship battle, guys. He might not have won a race, and I hope he doesn't get disqualified because that was a brilliant drive by George. He is currently 14 points back from Lando Norris. He's only 11 points back from Oscar Piastri in P2. George Russell is not out of this championship fight by any means. Count him in. Charles Leclerc is P5 on 32 points. Antonelli didn't gain anything there. Hamilton gained 10 points, is in P7. Albon didn't gain any points. Esteban Ocon, up 6 positions today after crashing in Q2 yesterday, is up into joint 9th with Lance Stroll. He's up into P9, sorry. He scored 4 points today, and he's in P. He's got 14 points. Stroll in 10th, no points again for him. Gasly, 6 points for him. Every team in the Constructors has scored points now today, guys. How? I can't remember. That's got to be like a record. 4 races in and every team has scored points. That is amazing. We can see Hulkenberg is still in P12. Behrman scores an additional point there. Yuki adds to his tally as well with 2 points, scoring his first points in the Red Bull car. Hadjar, unfortunately, no points for him. Sainz, a real shame for Sainz today. I'm still yet to see the incident that happened with Sainz and Tsunoda that caused the damage to his car. The initial contact into turn 1 didn't cause damage because it was front wing to rear tyre, but there was something that happened through turn 4 where I presume maybe a hole in his side pod or damage to the floor. So yeah, a shame for Sainz. Wasn't his own doing, to be fair, so... And then the Constructors, yeah, Haas major points. Haas up into P5. McLaren extend their lead at the top. They have 151 points to Mercedes 93. Red Bull 71 points in P3. Ferrari 57 for them. Haas into P5, up into 20, 1 place ahead. 1 place and 1 point ahead of Williams there with 20 points compared to Williams 19. Aston Martin with 10 points, no movement for them. Racing Bulls, not a good weekend for them. Alpine, 6 points for Gasly. Not sure what happened with Doohan. Doohan, unfortunately, of course, fell down the pack. Something happened to Doohan. I'm not entirely sure. That was, yeah, a bit odd for him. He got a 5-second time penalty for track limits at the end, but he just fell off. So I'm not sure if he had an issue. Behrman drove the wheels off today. I know. So driver of the day. Oh, it's neck and neck between Behrman and Piastri. Oh, So I appreciate what Piastri has done today, and I think he managed that race perfectly. I do think it's a 10 out of 10 performance for Piastri. However, Behrman started last. He made up 5 positions on the first lap, and he made some on-track overtakes and took that soft compound tyre 25 laps at the end and held off Antonelli, a Mercedes, and stayed with Yuki Tsunoda in that Red Bull. It's driver of the day for me, Ollie Behrman. That's just me personally. So, Russell no more said, yeah, George Russell's well within this. George Russell is well within this championship. He truly is. I mean, I just hope he's not disqualified for that. I just really hope he's not disqualified. Antonelli, did Antonelli ever get a penalty? So Antonelli, this is the track limits violations, by the way. I mean, how I I don't remember him getting penalties. I don't remember him getting penalties for that. And I'm looking through the race control, and Liam Lawson got a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision earlier, which I missed. Is there anything else here? I'm just trying to see. Oh, Liam Lawson got 2 penalties for causing a collision, by the way. He really was in the wars, the wars today. So Yuki didn't actually get... Sorry, no, Yuki. Antonelli actually didn't get any penalties from what I understand. So he should finish even further down. They've definitely missed that. They've definitely missed that. I'm guessing they're going to be looking into electrical issues for Russell and what caused it to determine penalties. Yeah. So F1. Lando Norris, his engineer, did report on the radio to him. Don't use a DRS until you're 100% sure you're within the zone. So they were concerned about potentially the DRS being able to be opened before they went into the zone. So just watching Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly. Good overtake by Max on the last on the fourth corner there around Pierre Gasly. Got stuck behind him for a considerable amount of time. But yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, yes, the investigation with George Russell. Normally they aren't able to open the automatically. There's a sensor. They're not able to open the DRS until they're within that zone. So you can press the button before you get to it. I believe you won't be able to open it, but George Russell was able to. So it could be George Russell's car. George Russell was clearly having electrical issues within that car, hence why the data was all skew-if. He was popping up and down, wasn't he? Firstly, it was his track map. His icon on the track map was okay, and he was dropping up and down the standings. And then it was the opposite. He disappeared from the track map, but he was still on the standings. And they said he could be losing the dash. He could, unbelievable, really. Every race winner, including sprinters, won from pole. Yes, they have. I will say, so let's do a vote. Shall we do a vote, guys? I'm going to end the poll for driver of the day. You guys have voted. You're the community. You gave Piastri 36% of the vote. Close to Ollie Behrman. He's my personal driver of the day. But I can see why you've given Piastri driver of the day there. That's fair enough. But let's give your... Hang on. Hopefully I've spelt that correctly. Yep. So I'm going to do this. Rate the Bahrain Grand Prix. Rate the Bahrain Grand Prix. 9 to 10. There we go. What would you rate that race? Let me know what you guys think, what you'd rate that race. But I think it was a good race. I'm trying to think of what I'd rate it. What would I rate this race? It was alright. Good, in your opinion. What's everyone voting right now? 7 to 8 out of 10, predominantly. Yeah, I feel like it was an 8 out of 10. So, maybe a 9. I might even go for a 9. Maybe because of what's happened previously. Recency bias, you know. But I feel like there was plenty of overtakes there. I'm going to go a 9 out of 10. I feel like a 10 out of 10 for me. There had to be a fight for the lead for a 10 out of 10. That's kind of how I judge a perfect race for me, a 10 out of 10. But I think that was a 9 out of 10. Considerable improvement. Shows that overtaking is possible. But overtaking is only possible if we have tyre offsets, Pirelli. Yeah? You hear me? Tyre offsets. We need drivers on different tyres or on different age tyres. We can't have drivers on the same tyre at the same age. Otherwise, they just get stuck. Because we still saw drivers get stuck today. So, would be 10 if there was only a fight for the lead. Yeah, exactly. My opinions as well on that. So, easily the best so far this season. It was definitely eventful. Oscar was just cruising with chaos behind him. Yeah. He was probably just looking at the cooldown room there going, whoa, all that happened behind me? I didn't see any of that. Safety car would have been awesome if it was a bit more earlier, and another one at the final stages. Yeah, I mean, the safety car bunched everyone up. I mean, maybe, I feel like the safety car, I'd have to go back and look at it, but I feel like maybe the safety car might have actually got in the way of an even better race. Not necessarily at the front, Piastri was cruising, but I think there was going to be a convergence of strategies at the end of the race. And the drivers would be going, obviously, they had those few laps of looking after the tyres under the safety car, which does help. It could literally be the difference of 3 or 4 laps under the safety car that decides whether or not your tyres fall off a cliff or not, which we have seen at Bahrain before. So the Red Bull's pit stop screwed their drivers up so hard. They did indeed, yeah. However, Max on the hard tyre, he was like the only driver out there who couldn't use the hard tyre. Now, Ferrari, it wasn't the tyre of choice on low fuel for any means. The medium was definitely the best tyre, I think, out there. I mean, the soft was okay, but the medium was definitely the best tyre towards the end. But Max was struggling so bad on that hard tyre in the middle stint. Oh, it was terrible. His lap times, he was struggling so bad. Do I think Ferrari chose the best strategy today? In hindsight, maybe not. In hindsight, they probably should have been on. Without a safety car, do I think Ferrari would have been higher? I'm trying to remember where they were. Maybe yes. I think Ferrari's strategy was to do medium, soft, and I think they got forced. I don't think they had faith that they could take that soft compound tyre. Understandably, 28 laps. I've been intriguing to hear their interviews. It wouldn't surprise me if that was their thought process. And the only tyre they had remaining was the hard compound tyre. They only had used softs, so I don't know the age of their used softs. Probably like 3 laps as well. Yeah, I think Ferrari potentially could have, that safety car could have potentially got in the way of them getting a double podium here today, or at least a podium. So yeah. They would get, yeah, they had a 7 lap tyre offset and going soft at the end. So yeah, I think it was the right call actually. You can't create a strategy based. Well, the only time you can create a strategy based around a safety car is if you're well out of position and you're trying to go long and goal hang for a safety car. But I think Ferrari did the right choice. And yeah, that soft tyre, they were going to go on the soft at the end, but the safety car just came out It just came out too early. So yeah. Any F1 race will always be a 5 at best, to be honest, if anyone watches F1 for the racing, wasting time. I disagree, Caden. I think we had good racing there today. You watched a very different race to me, and I obviously commentated on it. I mean, I was looking at the TV coverage. I think if you look back at the highlights, they'll definitely be worth watching. They'll definitely be worth watching compared to what we've seen at Suzuka and also at China. And even Australia. Australia was carnage because of the weather, but the actual race in itself, wheel-to-wheel action, we didn't really have any. Very few, anyway. But the wheel-to-wheel action we had here was very good. So yeah, I think that's a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I feel like I reserve a 10 out of 10 for a battle for the win, because that's what everyone wants to see. But yeah, why did Antonelli lose so many points? But the reason he's lost, not points, well, positions. You mean positions? I can't remember, to be honest with you. Maybe he did take his 5-second time penalty. I think he did take a 5-second time penalty. He's probably got some more. I don't know if that's been applied yet. But yeah, Antonelli just was bleeding time on the soft compound tyre in the first stint. So he went. So when did he pit? Yeah, so George Russell went a bit longer. He took the soft compound tyre. Antonelli 15 laps, and then he did a free stopper. So they put him. Unfortunately for Antonelli, he went to a soft compound tyre very early on, which was very bold by Mercedes. Maybe they were trying to do a free stop, and then the safety car came out. And Antonelli actually was the biggest loser when it came to the safety car. Now I remember. So yeah, because of when he pitted. So that's why he was down so far down. So where can you find the pit times? I don't know. We don't have pit times here. I don't think we can have pit times. Just having a look. I'm not sure. You can have number of pit stops, but you can't have the times of the pit stops, I believe. Let's have a look here. Yeah, you can only see the amount of times they're pitted. So Antonelli was the only, well, other than Carlos Sainz, of course, but he was the only driver who made 3 pit stops. So yeah. Antonelli was driven off the track by Sainz too. Oh, was he? It was a lot. That's what I mean. There was a lot that actually happened in that race. I feel like. I don't know about you guys. I feel like a lot actually happened in that race. I feel like it was a good one. It was positive. I like it. I was quite pessimistic after Suzuka. And I was quite pessimistic after I saw the tyre selections for this race as well, which is the C1, the hardest compounds. But they worked. It clearly worked. So, what position was Mazepin? 2 botched pit stops smashed Max today. It didn't help him. He probably would have finished comfortably P6, a lot more comfortable than he did in the end. But what ruined Max was that middle stint on the hards. It was terrible. Oh, his lap times on the hards were terrible. Yeah. If the race ended, why hasn't the F1 app updated? What do you mean? What, the actual app itself for like fantasy team and stuff? Takes a little while. Basically, at the beginning of the race, Leclerc kept the pace on the mediums with the soft runners, so maybe the tyres were working equally this race, right? To an extent, we did start to see a crossover period. We did. So where are the tyres here? Let's go back to them. So Charles, 17, 7. I mean, Piastri was in clean air for the majority of the race, so he's very different. His tyre management would have been very different to those behind. Yeah, they did pit a bit sooner than I thought on the mediums, to be fair, Leclerc and Hamilton, but they were clearly going longer on that. I mean, they had a tyre quite a bit of tyre advantage on Norris. Sorry, they were brand new. Sorry. So this doesn't say when they pitted. This is how old the tyres were, lap-wise. So these were 3 lap old. They were brand new tyres. So they had a 4 lap advantage over George Russell on the mediums in that first stint. And then they had 7 laps on Lando Norris. Of course, Oscar Piastri had a few laps advantage on him as well. I do really think Ferrari, were thwarted there by the safety car in the end, which is a bit of a shame for them. Bit of a shame. Oh my goodness, so many notifications on my phone after a race. Whew. Oh, West Ham only lost 2-1. That's not too bad, to be fair. Honestly, I didn't even watch the race, straight up forgot. Well, I highly recommend that you go back and have a look at the... go back and look back at the highlights that will be posted very shortly, no doubt. There was a lot of on-track action. There was lots of kind of collisions. There were lots of wheel-to-wheel battling. But this is, yes, the DRS assists, but I still don't think the DRS is the be-all and end-all here. The nature of this circuit, why it's so good for overtaking, is because we have a high abrasive circuit. So the tyres degrade quite quickly. And the teams decide, some teams are better than others on their tyres due to just how their car is developed and the nature of their car. Some because of the setup choices they decide to take. And they take different strategy options, as we saw. I mean, look at this. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars finishing on the soft. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars finishing on the mediums. And then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars finishing on the hards. We had almost an equal spread of cars on each compounder tyre. I can't remember the last time that happens. That's why we get such good racing, and that's why we need it. So yes, by the way, yes, thank you for the congrats on the 40k subs. We did it, guys. Thank you. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. PB of viewership. I mean, I've smashed my PB 3 times already in 4 race weekends of viewership and stuff. So yeah, big thank you, guys, as always. What did someone say? Mr. Popular. It's mainly just people chatting about F1 Vom. That's all it is. It's my phone. I'm not that popular, trust me. Was the safety car necessary? I think it was, yes, because there was debris on the racing line. and it was at turn 4. Well, it was on the racing line, and I think it was just away from the racing line. But we saw a lot of overtakes and car drivers going side by side through turn 4. So yeah, there was a very high risk to punctures there. So they did need a safety car. Because the field was very spread, they did need the safety car to have a sufficient amount of time to get out there and clear the debris. So yeah, it was warranted. I don't think a VSC was suitable because of how spread the field was. And the amount of debris that was on circuit. So, commentators were getting the drivers wrong during the race. I mean, I can see why they were, because the data was screwed. The data was screwed. But yeah, no, thank you guys for the kind words. Try my best as always, and you guys seem to like it. So the missus can't understand how I can speak constantly for 2 hours. Well, my school report. My teachers at school will tell you otherwise, but they always knew that this is something that I could do. But yeah, no, thank you as always, guys. And if you want more of me, I mean, how could you possibly want any more of me after spending the last 3 hours with me? I will be part of the Missed Apex podcast this evening, guys. So you can go over to the Missed Apex YouTube channel, which is in the description below. Or you can listen to them on Spotify, iTunes, number of podcasting platforms tomorrow if you want to take everything in for something for your Monday morning commute. So, in my experience, normally it's the missus who can talk for hours. Yeah, it's the other way around in our relationship, James. Tonight, Missed Apex. Yeah, I'm on. Now, my pleasure, Daisy. Why is Russell in the middle? So, yes, Russell had an issue with his electronics. So, it was affecting his data. So much so that it was affecting his DRS deployment, which is what he's being investigated for opening it too early, apparently. So they even stated over the radio that, George, you could lose the dash at some point. George did report he was having issues with his gears and his gearbox at some point. So something electronically clearly failed in his car, but he was able to make it to the end. Fingers crossed he doesn't get demoted. Of course, Lando will be hoping for a disqualification because it means he increases his championship lead over Piastri rather than it being 3 points at the moment. But yes, it'd be very unfortunate if George does get disqualified for that because I don't feel like that's his fault, but who knows? Who knows? Losing a dash would be crazy. Yeah. This is the only yapping you care to listen to, F1 and football. Thanks, Lily. Russell's coming up. Well, look, the championship standings. We'll have a look one more time at the championship standings if I can get them up. I don't know where they've gone. We'll just get rid of that so that we can see here and side by side. The timing data and stuff is going to disappear soon, no doubt. But you can... Actually, I'll just move over here. But you can see George Russell is currently P4. He's 13 points behind, 14 points behind Lando Norris. He's 3 points behind Max. He's well within this championship. Well within it. It even F Lando's DRS detection to Russell. It did, didn't it? Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but it was because of his link to Russell. It wasn't the link. It wasn't everyone else up and down the track. So yeah, it was purely a George Russell issue. Purely a George issue. Releasing cars too early isn't driver's fault either. I know. That's the problem. Is that... Once again, I think this is unprecedented. I don't think... I can't remember ever in my time in F1 seeing a driver have an issue with being able to open his DRS early. That's just me. But potentially Stuffeyy could do. Potentially. Still being investigated. I will see. I mean, no doubt they've got media obligations and things like that. Hopefully he doesn't. Let me see if I mean, they've been very slow today. They've been very slow with their penalties and their investigations, so I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I still think Kimi Antonelli wasn't given penalties, but he should have done. I'm trying to see. I'm on the FIA page right now. So provisional race classification is as we've seen, but nothing else just yet from the FIA. So yeah, probably won't be. I'll probably be announced when I'm doing the podcast in a few hours' time. The stewards are slow to hand out grid penalties for George and Kimi as well. They were. Yeah, they've been very slow today. Very slow. I mean, it took him God knows how long to give Lando Norris that 5-second time penalty. It took him... I mean, they were investigating Sainz and Verstappen like 10 laps after it happened. Yeah. Haas top team soon. Not quite. Haas, though. I think Haas have got to be the team of the day, haven't they? Is the standing still up? No, the data's gone now. But Haas have got to be the team of the day. Started... 14th in the end, I think Ocon started. 14th for Ocon. 20th for Behrman. And they've come away with 5 points today. By merit as well. By a great strategy team call. And by plenty... I mean, Ollie Behrman made up 5 positions on the first lap. Oof. Baby Spice is not my my wife. No, Mrs. Stuffeyy is my wife. Well, she's not my wife yet, but she's my partner. Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Yes, 40,000 subs, much appreciated, everyone. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Why is the dash so important? The dash, well, because if the dash disappears, you can't see what gear you're in. That's very important because they're making so many gear changes in a lap. Yes, muscle memory comes into it. You also can't see necessarily when you're in DRS. You can't see so much data that is displayed on those steering wheels. Also, there is also the fact of it, if you lose the dashboard, it means you may lose power in the car entirely. It's all linked. So very fortunate, really, that he was able to finish. I don't think he actually lost data. I'm sorry, I don't think he actually lost the dashboard. They were saying that he could do. But yeah, clearly something not right within that car. Any predictions for next race? Oh, Saudi Arabia. I mean, from what we've seen here this weekend, McLaren were able to... What is definitely noticeable is that McLaren are not this all-supreme team. So McLaren are still... If they get in dirty air and they're not in pole position, they're not able to just drive away. And I know people go, oh, it's because it's Lando. No. Piastri was the same. He got stuck behind his teammate and got stuck behind Verstappen in Suzuka. And we've seen cases where, and even in the sprint race, Piastri wasn't able to just breeze past Verstappen. We've seen this McLaren in dirty air a few times now, and it's struggled. I say struggled. It hasn't been easy for them to... It's been easy to close the gap, but once they get into the dirty air, they're not able to necessarily have that advantage and overtake. We saw it today with Lando. It took him countless times to get past Charles Leclerc. He got stuck behind George Russell and couldn't overtake George Russell in that first stint. And then it came... but what it is, it's definitely the quickest car in clean air. So the McLaren is not this all-supreme car that the Red Bull was in the previous seasons, where it had a significant pace advantage over everyone. So that's why qualifying is super important for the McLarens. And they both need to be on it. Of course, Lando made a good start. Fortunate, really, but he only got a 5-second time penalty and didn't have to give those back quicker, because otherwise he might not have finished third in general. But I think what we've seen is that the McLaren, with that downforce package that they had, they'll be able to run something similar at Saudi and be similarly as quick and much faster in clean air. So I expect probably similar to what we saw here this weekend in Saudi. You need your help. Okay. You're bathing, baby. That's my cue to go, guys. That's my cue to go. The missus needs help with little one's bath time. So, yeah. Thank you for helping this stream. Let's just change scene. I'd love to stay and chat some more, guys. You know I would. I am on the Missed Apex podcast in a few hours' time, so you can check out there if you want to hear more of me. But yeah, I will round this stream off by saying a big, big thank you to everyone. Over nearly 20,000 peak viewers today, PBs, and hitting over 40,000 subscribers. A big thank you to everyone who's continuing to love and enjoy these streams. I love doing them just as much. So yes, I think that was a great race personally, and that's what we need to see more of. We need to see more strategies. We need to see more tyre offsets, drivers on different tyres. That's what makes good racing, not everyone on the same tyre, everyone going 100% for every single lap, because we get more boring races than we do good ones. So yes, have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys, or your Monday if you're on the other side of the world. But yes, thank you for tuning in. As always, hit that like and subscribe button one last time. We'll be back, of course, in only a few days' time when we head to Saudi Arabia. And yes, I know I do apologise, there has not been a members stream this weekend. Haven't been able to get round to it, but I will make sure that there are definite members streams next week for you guys who are supporting this channel even further. And I will be setting up a Patreon as well for those of you who don't necessarily like YouTube and so forth, and linking it up and doing the same thing. So yeah, but yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you as always, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.